Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better. And kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor. Because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, you know? I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay. Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Tell the world I see with an emoji to stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to mooch off your friends.
You gonna finish that grape?
You mean the one in my mouth?
You don't need to stop buying the necessities.
What you're smelling is a natural musk.
Ew.
You don't need to be a medical test subject.
How do you feel?
Mostly okay. Sometimes, though.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman. Let's break for lunch.
You just need an internet connection. Don't get left behind. Start your personal savings plan with the tips and tools on feedthepig.org. That way, you don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
All right, deal.
Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
When is the best time to talk to your family about staying in touch during a disaster? When floodwaters reach your door? When wildfires are engulfing the edge of your neighborhood? Or an earthquake is destroying buildings? When a tornado is tearing through town? Or a hurricane strikes? Or is the best time perhaps today? During a disaster, you may not be able to stay in touch with your family or friends as easily as you think. And it's not always as simple as using your cell phone. That's why now is the time to take action. Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Terry Crews.
actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind, like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
What are you talking about?
No, it's not him. There is only one more. There is only one more. That's it. One more.
Get a rest!
No!
They saw your team put up zero effort.
Wake up!
Remember in the old days, they used to have oxygen for them. Where's the oxygen?
Play like absolute just garbage.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
Yay!
Man, can you keep it down? I'm trying to introduce here. With Errol Marks and Speedy Petey.
You're not even a has-been. You're a never was. You're a never was. You're a never was. Welcome to a new show of the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. 631-672-3108 is the number. As everybody knows, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app on iOS, WWSRN or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Hashtag ban the beef. It seems like everybody is posting that all over social media and on our feed right here as Ben, Snug, and everybody just seems
Jeff will
to
be joining soon, probably.
ranking on the bad news beef. By the way, I went to
That's
his
a good nickname, too.
I went to his 4th of July party yesterday. It was his family's awesome. He has a great family. So shout out to the B family, or AKA the Eilers family. Fantastic people. Blown out of the water. Anyways, we have a great show lined up for you guys a little bit later. We will be talking to I guess it's 12-year MLB catcher and West Michigan's Whitecaps manager, Brayan Pena. Okay, why did you spell it differently? I know it's Brian.
That's how it's spelled.
Who cares? It's Brian. It doesn't matter. Brayan Pena at 10:30. We'll be talking to author of the Midrange Theory and the Athletic NBA Analyst, Seth Partnow. Right?
Yep.
I've got it right. There we go. We spelled his name a little bit wrong, but there you go. So we'll have both guys on a little bit later in the show at 9:30. So that'll be coming up very, very soon. We will get into the Kevin Durant situation. It seems like there are two teams that are reaching out heavily to the Brooklyn Nets, and that is the Miami Heat and the Golden State Warriors, the champion Golden State Warriors reaching out. Kevin Durant should have never left the Golden State Warriors, but it seems like he might be heading back there. So we will get into that. We'll get into the Knicks. What's next after Brunson? Is Donovan Mitchell staying in Utah, or is he going to go somewhere else? And it could be the New York Knicks. They are a team of his pick, but it doesn't seem like it's happening anytime soon. So as you heard Danny Ainge the other day say, that they're building around Donovan Mitchell. But anything's possible, and that's just a ploy to try to get as much as you possibly can from all the teams that he's interested in going to. So we'll see what happens. The Lakers still interested in Kyrie Irving. Don't want to trade Anthony Davis. Not surprised for Kevin Durant. But Anthony Davis is a guy that hasn't been healthy for the last couple of years. I would like to see him at full health with LeBron James, and maybe you had Kyrie Irving. I mean, you have a trio over there that we haven't seen in a very long time. And I think you have, obviously, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Kyrie. It's kind of like the same thing as Bosh and Wade and Kevin Love and Kyrie over there in Cleveland. I think this might be a better 3 if you really look at it.
But also a more dramatic 3 with Kyrie.
Yeah, but it'll be very interesting to see. And by the way, the Brooklyn Nets are pretty much very much interested in moving on from Kyrie Irving. And the only team that they're interested in possibly trading him to is the Lakers. So it'll be very interesting to see in the next couple of weeks where Kyrie Irving could go if he gets traded. NBA free agency and trade recap. We'll get into that. The Yankees interested in trading another outfielder, eyeing Andrew Benintendi. I've been saying this for the past couple of months, that Andrew Benintendi has been on their radar from really before the season even started. So they really like him. They think he fits in Yankee Stadium outfield. They could put him in right. They could put him left, and maybe even sometimes in center. So
I'd imagine him and Judge will platoon in center a lot of the time because he kind of just started playing center field like Judge did a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm. A-Rod says the Yankees have 50-50 shot to re-sign Judge. We will get into A-Rod's big mouth. I mean, who cares what A-Rod says? It's interesting because Alex Rodriguez, I respect, but when he speaks about the Yankees, we all know he roots on the Yankees. He's a Yankee fan. So obviously he's going to speak out and say the Yankees are 50-50. I think the Yankees have a 70-30 chance of landing Aaron Judge. I don't think the Yankees are going to get him because this is a man that wants a lot of money. He wants to be the highest paid everyday player in Major League history, and he's probably going to get a 7-8 year deal. I think that the lead team that's going to get him is San Francisco. That's his hometown. That's what he grew up rooting for, and they have a lot of money, and they're going to have enough money to make a move for him in the offseason. He could be a $300 million player for them. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, Posey's no longer there, so it's a new era, and why not the Aaron Judge era over there in San Francisco? But I think it's a 70-30 chance. I think the Yankees have a 30% chance of getting him back. I don't see it happening. I can't see the Yankees giving him more than 230. I think they offered him 213. They might offer him another 18-19 million.
Right.
There are other teams that are going to overpay for Aaron Judge to come to their team.
They're probably going to have to get to at least 250 to have any chance.
I don't think they have a chance. And the Seahawks not strongly in on the Baker Mayfield sweepstakes. So it will be very interesting to see where Baker Mayfield goes, and I'll tell you why a little bit later in the show. But why don't we get into the KD? But before we do that, I want to give a shout out and my condolences to the families in that mass shooting in Highland Park, Illinois. This has been going on for years. Innocent children, innocent people getting murdered. It's a horrible thing. It really is. And you think back of all the different things that have happened from so many different school districts. The Parkland over there in Florida, and just disgusting things. The movie theater, the shooting in a movie theater. I forget where that was, but it's just a horrible, horrible thing when you see these stories, and these stories slowly but surely come out, and you see how many innocent kids and innocent teachers, innocent people getting murdered because of some crazy lunatic.
I grew up, again, 25 minutes away from Sandy Hook when that happened. I was in high school when that happened. All of them now are just so sickening how many of them there are, and it's absolutely disgusting.
So I want to give a shout out and my condolences to the families that lost their loved ones. So it's a horrible thing. It really is. And, there's nothing more I can say about it. It's just disgusting. It's a disgusting world, and I don't understand why these new laws, these gun laws, are coming out. It's horrible. It's horrible. First of all, every single security guard in any school district or any hospital or any public area should be carrying a gun. Should be carrying a gun and protecting whatever they're security guarding. There's no reason why a security guard in a school district does not have a gun, especially with all this stuff is going on. So it's just a horrible thing. And I could sit here the whole show talking about this and trying to figure out laws and the penalties of what people are, what they should be carrying, what they shouldn't be carrying. And it's just, It's horrible. And these young 16, 15, or even 14-year-olds taking their parents' gun. They're fully loaded. Who leaves guns fully loaded in their house? Shotguns. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. Let's get into the KD situation because it seems like this has been a story all weekend. And Miami and Golden State seem like the two teams that are the lead go-getters of Kevin Durant. Now, I sit here today and I look at Kevin Durant, and I think Kevin Durant is still a sensational player. He's 30. It's going to be 35, I think, this year, this coming season. I think he's 34 right now as we speak. He is a fantastic talent. And before he got hurt this year, he was an MVP candidate. He really was. And anybody that argues that obviously has not watched enough of Kevin Durant to see what he's capable of being and capable of doing on a basketball court. But these trades, the Bam Adebayos, the Tyler Heroes, and all these draft picks that seem to be added in and trying to conclude this trade to happen, because the conclusion to this is it going to happen or is it not? And to me, I think the only teams that could afford or he'd be interested in going to are championship competitive teams. Now, you heard before this trade rumor, obviously, when he said he wanted to be traded, the trade rumors were he wanted to go to Phoenix and he wanted to go to Miami. Now, Miami, they're way over the salary cap. After giving Kyle Lowry the money that they gave him in the offseason, Bam Adebayo's making $190 million. I mean, you have Jimmy Butler making about $190 million. All these guys, I mean, they're highly overpaid over there in Miami. And Pat Riley, and I will say this, Pat Riley is probably the best vice president, or whatever you want to call him, GM in basketball. Everybody wants to play for him. LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. Now, everybody thought after those three guys retired and they left, this team was going to be completely torched for the next 5 to 10 years. Wrong again. Because Pat Riley, it took him like a year and a half, and he rebuilt his team. He drafted Tyler Hero. Slowly started building around the draft. And then Jimmy Butler became available in free agency. They brought in Jimmy Butler. They drafted right. They brought in Bam Adebayo. I mean, all these different guys that they brought in, it started to fit what Pat Riley has always tried to build his teams around. If you look at the Knicks of the 90s, his big man, I mean, obviously, Patrick Ewing was a good defensive player, not a great defensive player, but an offensive talent, a guy that was great in the paint, great in the perimeter, fadeaway jumpers, very athletic. And he always had shooters around the perimeter. John Starks, if you go through it, I could go through all the teams, the players, Ronaldo Blackman. If we go back in the time, and he always had these big bodies like Anthony Mason and Charles Oakley. And now you see this Miami team, you kind of, match out these teams that he has obviously run over the years and built. Even the Showtime Lakers. And he didn't build that team. But those teams were built around big bodies, good shooting on the perimeter, and obviously a great play. Well, 3 great players in James Worthy, Magic Johnson, and the other guy, Speedy.
Kareem.
So it's, to me, he's always built his teams around 3 talented players or 2 talented players. Even when they won the championship with Shaquille O'Neal and Dwayne Wade, they had players, that could play, the third type of, the bench players, the guys that off the bench, very talented. You look at the KD situation, you're hearing more and more the Golden State Warriors now. And now you're hearing possibly Paul Wiseman and Wiggins involved in a trade that would send Ben Simmons. Not Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons and Kevin Durant to Golden State. Now, Ben Simmons is going to be the add-on. But again, that's not the only pieces that they're going to get. They're going to get 2 other players. I don't know the other 2 players, and they're going to get at least 2 or 3 first-round draft picks from Golden State, which are not going to be lottery picks, as we know. We look at this possible move for the Brooklyn Nets. This will define Sean Marks. This move will either make or break Sean Marks. It might get him fired, or it might help him build this team into a young, talented team that he already had with Karis LeVert and Allen and Spencer Dinwiddie.
Well, that's why they're going to need the players, because the Warriors have a couple of young players, but not a tremendous amount because they lost some in free agency too. So they're going to have to get as many as possible from them if they're going to make that kind of trade. Now, it'll be interesting to see how Golden State would value Ben Simmons, because Ben Simmons is a really bad contract, but he's a defensive player that could help them and help them on the perimeter, help them with size inside, especially if they do end up trading Wiseman, which they're going to have to if they want to make that trade.
And Snug's saying fake news. No, it's not fake news, because actually they are interested in making a move for Ben Simmons. And I don't know the other 2 players that are going to be involved, but the contracts fit. It works. So the way they were setting it up in the news that was coming out is that Ben Simmons would be involved with the trade. Steph Curry and Ben Simmons are very good friends. They actually train in the offseason. Go look it up if you think this is a story. KD, Ben Simmons would be traded for 5 guys and 2 to 3 first-round draft picks. And it'll all match the contracts and everything. Now, I don't know. To me, it makes sense for Golden State, because Golden State's trying to be the dominant force in the NBA for the next 2 or 3 years. If they get, obviously, Kevin Durant and Ben Simmons with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, they're going to win another 1 or 2 titles. Who's going to beat them? Even if Kyrie goes to the Lakers with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, as good as they are on paper, they're not beating the Golden State Warriors. They're just not. Now, if he gets traded to Miami, which a lot of people believe that Pat Riley will do anything to make this move, and as well as he should, because if you add Kevin Durant to that Miami Heat team with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, I don't know how that would work, but if you can keep Bam Adebayo, I mean, you're the most dominant team in the Eastern Conference. As good and as young as the Celtics are, as good as the Milwaukee Bucks are, as good and young as the Chicago Bulls are. The more dominant team, and who's the number 1 seed this year in the Eastern Conference? Miami. You add Kevin Durant to that team, not only are they the best in the East, they might be the best in all of basketball.
You're talking about a Miami team, too, that when they struggled in the playoffs, most of it was offense, too. When they especially against the Celtics. Now, granted, they have the number 1 defense, the Celtics. Understandable. But still, Miami even had those bad games, a couple games against Philly as well. And when they had one guy that was only shooting or one guy that was only scoring well and everyone else went cold, that was why they were losing games. If you get somebody like Kevin Durant, unless he plays as like he did against the Celtics in the playoffs this year, then you're going to get a guy that is going to be what Miami needs to be, the best team in the league for sure. I would say so.
I think Miami is a better fit for Kevin Durant, because I think Kevin Durant wants to stay in the Eastern Conference. He can dominate more in Eastern Conference. With the West, if Kyrie Irving goes to the Lakers, then you got to contend with the Lakers, for the next 2 or 3 years. Right. And the Lakers still have a LeBron James who's still at the top of his game. Anybody that doesn't think, and if obviously Anthony Davis can stay healthy, and that's the question. If he can stay healthy, the Lakers are a pretty good dominant force, and the Phoenix Suns will still be good. They'll still have salary room, even though they actually overpaid Devin Booker in the this weekend. I mean, I think he got a
4 years, $224,
$224 million contract. So he's going nowhere. So everybody that thought, including me, that thought Devin Booker might want to look elsewhere after Chris Paul retires, and now DeAndre Ayton seems like he's not staying with them.
No.
It's going to be interesting to see what this Phoenix Suns going to be when Chris Paul starts to disintegrate and eventually decides to retire.
Yeah, especially if they have to lose more pieces too, because DeAndre Ayton isn't the only young player that's going to have to be paid. Mikal Bridges is going to have to be paid soon too. You got Cam Johnson, who's a good shooter off the bench, is going to have to be paid. They traded a couple of their other draft picks that they drafted recently.
Wiggins is in the trade, Jeff.
Yeah, no, I mentioned that to him in the comments section.
Yes, he's absolutely in the trade. It's the three guys that are in the Golden State rumor trade is Poole, Wiseman, and Wiggins. Those are the three lead guys for obviously Kevin Durant and Ben Simmons. Now they're trying. The Nets are trying so hard to get rid of Ben Simmons' contract, but nobody's going to take it. But the whole connection with Steph Curry and Ben Simmons, it might happen because we all knew that Dame really, really liked Ben Simmons too, and they trained together in the offseason too. So that could be a good fit too if they decide to move him somewhere else. Maybe trade him to Portland.
And he also wants. Dame also has said he wanted to play with Kevin Durant too, so maybe they trade both of them to Portland. Now, I don't know if the Blazers have necessarily the young talent like the Warriors do to be able to get back in the trade, but if it comes to the point where they don't have any other options because either they don't want to trade, either teams don't want to take on Ben Simmons or trade that much in order to get him, then the Blazers might be the last one left in order to make that work. Because again, they got some good pieces from McCollum in that trade, but that's really all they have going for them right now with their new GM.
It seems like Ben Simmons is going just as much as Kevin Durant and Kyrie is going. Yeah. If they get rid of Kyrie and Kevin, why are they going to keep Ben? Okay, because Ben is just nobody wants to play with Ben Simmons. And are you building your team around Ben Simmons? I mean, honestly, it doesn't make any sense. And that's why Sean Marks has to make sure that he is going to get the most out of Kevin Durant in that trade. And Kevin Durant is definitely going. Everything that I've read, I thought it was a little crazy. When I heard it last week that Kevin Durant wants to be traded, and I really thought that Sean Marks was going to sit down with Kyrie and Kevin and try to talk them into playing another season together because they both opted into their contract. And Kyrie's there for another year for $36.5 million. But everything that I've read this weekend and all these analysts and everybody, Kevin Durant wants out, and he wants out soon. So they got to figure out very, very soon where they're going to send Kevin Durant and where it makes a lot of sense.
It looks like we got Jeff on the phone for a little bit.
What's up, Jeff? I don't hear him, Speedy. We don't have him, Speedy.
Jeff, you on?
Yes.
There he is.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, what's up, Jeff?
Hello?
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah. You do realize that trade is impossible and can't happen, right?
Why is that?
Ben Simmons, max contract. Kevin Durant, max contract. Steph Curry, max contract. Klay Thompson, max contract. You're only allowed 3.
Here's the thing, and I know Wiggins, I know Poole and Wiseman. There were 2 other players involved. It might have been Draymond Green. Maybe it was Draymond Green.
It would have to be one of them, and probably one of the first-round picks, either Moody or
3
Kuminga.
first-round draft picks.
No, I mean one of the ones they just drafted, either Kuminga or Moody. They were both top.
There were 3 first. No, there were 5 players involved in this trade, but Wiggins, Poole, and Wiseman were the definite 3 players that I know of that were involved with the trade. I do think Draymond Green might be involved with it too.
Either way, the trade is impossible because you can't have Ben Simmons go to.
I should find that. I want to find the trade.
You can't have Ben Simmons go to the Warriors. It can't happen because you can't have 4 max contracts. And then the other part of it is because Ben Simmons would be out. Andrew Wiggins can't go the other way, and Andrew Wiggins can't play with Ben Simmons per league rules.
Well, no, I bet Andrew Wiggins would be with the
traded.
Nets.
He would be traded with the Nets. I just told you the 3 players that I know of that they were talked in the trade, and there were 2 other players. I wasn't sure the other 2 players. It was Wiggins, Poole, and Wiseman going to the Nets, and 3 first-round draft picks. That's what I heard. I think Draymond Green was the other guy. I'm not sure. I got to find the trade. I got to find it.
But either way, the trade's impossible because Ben Simmons, you can't have 4 max contracts on a roster. So it's either Ben Simmons or Kevin Durant is going, not both.
Well, I'm just telling you what I saw when they were talking about the trade, and it made sense. And the contracts, the way they put the contracts together, that it makes sense. All the players that they were going to trade, all the players that they were adding on in the 6 or 7 player trade, it makes sense. The contracts fit. So I don't know. Listen, it's just a story right now. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen, Jeff. I don't know. It's a story. Somebody wrote it. So what are you going to tell me? I'm not going to talk about what somebody wrote?
But it's actually impossible.
How is it impossible? If this writer,
you can't have, this is why it's impossible because you can't have 4 max contracts on a team. Clay has a max. Steph has a max. KD has a max. Ben Simmons has a max. Can't have 4. And if Ben Simmons is staying behind, Wiggins still can't be included in that trade because you can't have 2 players under rookie extensions playing on the same team.
Ben Simmons is not going. If they're trading Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, they're not keeping Ben Simmons. Everything that I've read.
Right, that's fine. Then, but he would be going to a different team.
Fine, maybe it's a 3-team trade. All I'm telling you what I read this weekend. An analyst wrote this story and said there were 5 players involved with the trade and 3 first-round draft picks. And the 3 guys that
are you dealing in more rumors? Is this another clown bomb?
Listen, Jeff, if you're going to call the show and act like an idiot, don't call the show.
I'm not acting like an idiot.
I'm just telling you what I read. I also read. Yeah, well, if you don't think Golden State's involved with this.
Someone who knows sports should have at least known that you can't have 4 max contracts on an NBA team.
Speedy, just hang up the phone on him. Hang up the phone on him. Hang up the phone. Hang up the phone on him, Speedy. Hang up the phone. Hang up the phone on him. I don't even know why you put him through. He's an idiot. You put him through. He's an idiot. He sits here and he talks his stupidity. And I don't know why he's on. Why call the show if you're going to be stupid? Be normal. Call the show and act like a normal person. You know who you're going to be? You know what I'm going to call him? Tyler Harrison Jr. I'm going to call him TJ Jr. Okay? TJ Jr. You want to talk about a clown? He's a clown. Anyways, getting back to the Golden State Warriors. I think, I mean, obviously the Golden State Warriors are the big team, the big name that everybody keeps talking about. But I think it makes a lot more sense that he gets traded to Miami. It makes a lot of sense. And sitting here with Jeff's talking about these, why would this be brought up? Why would this story be brought up if it didn't make sense? And by the way, Ben Simmons, he's a max contract, right? He's max?
Yep.
He's not a max anymore. He's not a max anymore. He's already, how many years does he have left on his contract?
2.
2 years. He's not a max contract anymore, you dumb idiot. He was a max contract. He's not anymore. He's got 2 years left on that contract. How much is it worth, Speedy?
It was $150 million over the course of the 5 years. I'm not sure where it is specifically this year.
It's not a max contract.
Over $30 million.
It's not a max contract anymore. It's not. Speedy, go check out the contract.
It was initially 5 years, 177.
Okay, what is it now? How many years left?
It averaged $35 million a year.
How many?
It has actually 3 years. So it's
Yes,
35 million, 35.4 million this year, then 37.
That's 105 million or something like that.
37.9, and
that's not a max contract. No, max is not a max. It's a max contract when it's a 5-year extension worth about almost $200 million. It's not $200 million anymore, Jeff. It's $105 million. They have to. Am I right or wrong? It has to be somewhere in a cap, right?
It has to be over $35 million. I think for the regular max contract, I think the rookie max contract's a little lower, and then it's a 5-year deal if it's with your current team, or a 4-year deal if it's with another team. Now, he signed that initially with Philly, so that counts as his current team. So he was able to get the extra year out of it.
So again, we sit back and we look at this. It's possible. To say that it's not possible, they would probably have to add Draymond Green.
Yes,
they would probably have to, whatever. And I don't care what Jeff says, because Jeff will sit here and attack everybody, but Jeff thinks he knows, just like he thought, last year, Boston, everything you heard was Boston this, the Celtics, we're going to have another parade. What happened to your Celtics, Jeff? What happened to your Celtics? Oh, I'm sorry. They got eliminated. They got knocked out by the Golden State Warriors. What about your Boston Red Sox? Oh, they knocked out the Yankees in the wild card game. What happened to them?
Before we go to break, Ben's comments, potential 3-team trade that he heard was Hawks get Ben Simmons, Miles Turner, and Patty Mills. The Nets get John Collins, Bojan Bogdanovic, Daniel Theis. And then the Pacers get Jalen Johnson, Mo Harkless, a 2023
I heard that too.
Atlanta pick, a 2023 Nets pick, and a 2028 second pick of the Nets as well.
I'm going to, when we go to break and we get our special guest, we get Brayan Pena on. After Brayan Pena, I'm going to find this article so I could shut Jeff up, because he doesn't know anything. He sounds like he knows everything. He doesn't know nothing. And I'm going to pull up the trade And I will get every single player that's involved with the Golden State Warriors. And I guarantee you Ben Simmons was involved with the trade. So it'll shut Jeff off because Jeff doesn't know anything anyways. When we come back, we will be talking to 12-year MLB catcher and West Michigan Whitecaps manager Brayan Pena here on the Sports Loudmouths.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next-door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, we are the Sports Loudmouths. 631-672-3108 is the number. And if it's Jeff, don't answer it, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app on iOS, WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I don't know, Mike. Speedy, before we get Brayan Pena on, I don't know what is wrong with this guy. I mean, Jeff calls up the show. We think he knows everything. And by the way, our guest has a Patriots hat on, so I'm sure he's loving that. But, I'm not. But that's all right. I still like you, Brayan. We are now talking to 12-year MLB catcher and West Michigan's Whitecaps manager, Brayan Pena. What's going on, Brayan?
Hey, guys. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor. I mean, I know we're trying to, to communicate, but obviously, with our busy schedule and our season. But, I really appreciate it, man. I really appreciate, both of you guys, inviting me over. And, I'm ready to roll. Thank you.
I will say this. I would like to apologize our caller calling up and being an idiot. But that's what he is. He is a Boston fan, and he is a Patriot fan. So he probably would love you. He just absolutely despises me. Two guys always comes on our feed and just likes to just absolutely rag on the conversations that we have. But that's what we are here for. We're here for people to have fun with us for the next 3 hours. We are talking to 12-year MLB catcher and West Michigan's Whitecaps manager, Brayan Pena. So what is it like? I mean, retiring from baseball and becoming a manager of a minor league team?
It's been awesome. Obviously our organization, the Detroit Tigers, gave me an opportunity to be here. I just have a chance, to do something special. And what I mean by that is like, I'm having a chance to give back, baseball, because, this game, it gave me everything. It gave me, something that I never expected. And that was, being able to play, at the highest level for so many years. But with that being said, it's not about me. It's about our organization. It's about our players. And, I'm super excited about the future. And I'm so glad that I can do something, to help our players, to be successful and representing us, someday in Detroit.
So when you first started managing, what were some of the biggest things that you were surprised at, maybe the biggest difficulties coming in when you first started in 2019? And also with the sabermetrics now and analytics that baseball uses, how do you think that's changed managing from the managers that you played for?
Well, I really, I have a blessing and an opportunity, to play for a lot of great managers and, some of them future Hall of Famers, for me, it's like a little bit of everything. Because I was a backup, pretty much my entire career at the highest level. So I had a chance, to learn from them. I had a chance to be close to, to them. And I knew sooner or later that I was going to be, coaching. I knew sooner or later that, that was my destination, because, my mom and my dad, they were teachers in Cuba, and it's in the blood, But with that being said, man, I am a numbers guy. I really believe in numbers. I do believe, in the metrics. I do believe, in the analytics, part of the game. But with that being said, you also have to understand that you have to use it, the right way. You have to understand, you have to learn to know, how to read it correctly, and also, especially at the levels that I'm coaching, also to make sure that our guys, they understand that. I think that is, the challenge, because obviously we have, players from different backgrounds, from Latin America, Venezuela, Dominican, Cuba, Mexico, and then also we have, American players that they come from different college, they come from different, places, and you have to make sure that they understand what we're trying to do, they understand the process, and it's a beautiful thing. It's not going to guarantee that you're going to go out there and win every single night, but at least guarantee that our players, they're going to be better every single night. And that is our goal. That is exactly what we're trying to do. And, I'm very excited, man. Very excited about, my position. Very excited about the way our organization, is handle business. And, the sky's the limit for our younger players.
Brayan, we all know the catcher is the quarterback on the field. And a lot of people look at each position, shortstop, out, obviously center field, and even pitcher as the most important positions. But I think the most important position is the catching position. They're the ones that are telling the infield where to go and where to maneuver and calling out signals, what the manager is calling on the bench. And then you're actually calling the game for the pitcher. What is it like being behind the plate and calling a game?
You obviously, I wish I had, but I never played, the quarterback position. But, everybody compared, the catching position, like a quarterback position. Why? Because you got everything in front of you. Obviously, they have the running back and the fullback, because I forced myself to learn, football, because I love the game. Mm-hmm. So, I still struggling, with some positions, but with that being said, man, it's all about leadership. I think, everybody's not, is not vocal. Everybody's not, is one of those Brayan Pena guys that goes out there and is super loud in Spanish and English. I love to have fun. I love to enjoy it. I love to, our players, to go out there and do that. But with that being said, there is, some responsibilities. And obviously, when you play the catching position, you learn a lot of stuff. You learn how to communicate with people. That's very important. I think, you have a chance to communicate with position players, with pitchers, with your coaches, with your manager, with the umpires, with the media, and at times, in my case, I had to translate too, so you got involved with a little bit of everything. And obviously, that position gave me, a lot of experience, and, and I play with great ones. I play with a lot of, great and players and future Hall of Famers. Some of them, they are in the Hall of Fame already, but, with that being said, man, it's all about leadership. It's all about understanding, what we're trying to do. It's all about understanding that, it's not about you. It's about your players. It's about the goals and that organization wants. And also, and more important, it's about to be give back. It's about, to understand that, it's time for them to shine. It's time for them to go out there and compete every single day. And that's what we're doing, with the Tigers. We are, trying to make sure that our players understand that the future is bright. It's great to be a Tiger today. Because we give him a lot of opportunity to a younger, players, and and that's what it's all about. Like, for example, yesterday Gary Hill, he threw, for us, and he threw, he pitched extremely well. He got the decision, and then like around 11 o'clock, I got a FaceTime, and he was him calling me, because I never drink. I don't drink at all. Barely in that very, very small, occasions. And obviously, when I am coaching and managing, and I don't do that, but with that being said, I remember back in 2018, I told him, that was the first year that I started managing. And I told him, I say, hey, listen, the day that you get to the big league, I'm going to drink a beer, on your name. And man, he remembered that, and he called me FaceTime because he wanted to make sure that I wasn't bluffing about it. And, I didn't drink the beer, but, I was very happy, man, very excited, about to see him, about to see Torkelson, Riley Green, Bob Brisky, about seeing guys like that, you have an opportunity to work with, beautiful players like them. And then, just to see them, at the big league level, representing the Detroit Tigers and representing that everything, that organization is all about, and the coaches and everybody who has something to do, with them to get there. And it's an amazing feeling, man. It is an amazing feeling. Obviously, when you start coaching lower levels and when you manage lower level, you go like, well, our guys are still a little far away, from making that happen. But now when you sit down and then you see them play, and then you see them, playing in Valley Sport, Detroit, and you go like, wow, I can't believe that those guys are in the big league, but they made it, and they make all of us proud, man.
So you mentioned that you're from Cuba. I actually read that you came over to the United States in 1999. So what was your story like of coming over from Cuba, which again has caused a lot of trouble for a lot of different people? And also you see a path where they make it easier for a lot of these baseball players, especially because they have a lot of talented professional baseball players that come over. Do you see a path where it gets easier for them in the future?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I defect, with the Cuban national team when I was 16. So I had to escape from my country. I had to escape, from everything that my country, represent. And I escaped in Venezuela, and then I signed with the Brave, and the Brave, they were the team that gave me an opportunity to become a professional baseball player. So I'm very thankful. I always will be very thankful to Atlanta Brave, because they welcome me, and they make sure that I pursue my dream. But with that being said, it's all about America. It's all about this great country. I love this country. I am so proud of being an American citizen. I'm so humble and so grateful, to this great country to give me an opportunity to sit down here with you guys, to give me an opportunity, to continue to do what I do. And that is love my family. That is love what I do and continue, to be free. And I don't see that happening, with the Cuban government. It's very difficult to negotiate with them. I see, our guys, that they're going to continue, to do whatever they have to do to be free. They're going to continue, to escape, from delegations and take, raft and being treated like, like guys that they're not welcome, in your country. And it's very hard. It's very hard. It's a very difficult topic, because, we just want to play baseball. That's what we want to do. We want to play baseball like Dominicans, like the Venezuelans, like the Mexicans, like Puerto Ricans. That is exactly what we're trying to do. And then, for your country to treat you like a trader, for your country, to make sure that your family lose their job, like the way mine did, when I make, that decision of defecting, my mom and my dad, they both lose their job, and that was on me. That was my responsibility because of the decision that I made. So that even drove me even more, to become somebody, because now it was my time, to take care of the family. It was my time to do whatever I had to do, to provide for my family. And it's very difficult, man. It's very hard, because, like I say, in my country, we're not a free country. Obviously, I don't want to make this, a political, interview or anything like that. No, but I gotta give you, our reality. I gotta give you my heart, and we're suffering. We really are suffering because I don't see any change. Like for example, the other day, a 15-year-old young man, came out, and then he wrote a sign, and this sign, that he wrote, it was like, we need freedom, we need food, we're starving, we're dying here, and the Cuban government sent him to jail for 20 years. 20 years. So that young man is not allowed to come out of jail, until he's 35. So can you believe that? I mean, how can you do that, to a future generation, right? Only because you want to continue to send a message that, they are dictators, it's a very, very hard, government. And, I love my country. I love my people. I love what my people represent. But, our government, something needs to change. And, that's why, we're trying to do whatever we have to do, to continue to support our people. And, me being in this, chair, I just want to make all of them proud, man. I just want to make them proud. I just want them to know that, all of us that are here, we're just trying to make them proud and support them. But that was my story, I had to escape, and I jumped out of the window because I was looking for freedom. I didn't want to get caught, because if I got caught, I would send it back to Cuba, and probably we're going to end up, to be in jail, because I defect, when I was 16. So it's a long story. But, like I said before, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but, our great country, give me a chance, give me an opportunity, to be somebody. And I will always be thankful and grateful to this great country. And I love America.
We are talking to 12-year MLB catcher and West Michigan Whitecaps manager now, Brayan Pena. Now, Brayan, we've watched the game, and the game is completely transitioned. I mean, with the new rules, and obviously we've had one commissioner to another commissioner. I think Rob Manfred is the worst commissioner in professional sports. I think the guy's a complete idiot. That's just my opinion. You look at the league now, and now every other pitcher is throwing over 100 miles per hour. These pitchers are unbelievable. They're all throwing an off-speed pitch over 90 miles per hour. What is it like from the time that you were catching in the mid-2000s all the way to now in the game? And obviously, you haven't been out of the game for that long, but you see the transition. I mean, every single pitcher, every single team has a pitcher that throws over 100 miles per hour, and they have 2 guys, 3 guys in the bullpen that throws 100 miles per hour. I mean, remember when Aroldis Chapman came into the league, and he was the first guy to really throw 102, 103? Now you have like 8 or 9 guys in the league that can throw that hard. So what is it? Is it Lucky Charms or something? What are they? Spinach or something? What the heck are they taking now?
The game evolved, man. There is a lot of information out there. There is a lot of communication between players, coaches, and also, our guys. And when I mean our guys, I'm talking about the industry. They understand, their strength and weakness better than we used to back in my days. And what I mean back in my days, I'm talking about 2018, and it looks like it's been like almost, a decade or something like that. But it's just like one of the things that the players now they understand, what they need to do to be better. They understand, what I'm saying, that they have to be stronger. They understand, how to use, the analytics information that we are giving them, in their advantage. And when you do that, you continue to make adjustments. You continue to do whatever you have to do to survive. Because right now, the competition level is very up there, especially for the younger players, because everybody's pushing, everybody's pushing at each other, and it has become a very healthy competition. And like you say, I caught, for Cincinnati for 2 years, and 14 and 15. And Chapman, it was our closer when that happened, and I felt like I was doing something extraordinary. I'm catching my countrymen, and also I'm catching one of the guys. They only throw over 100 miles per hour, so I cannot screw up. I had to make sure, because all eyes were me. You know what I mean? Because I was the guy.
So was the ball. I couldn't imagine that ball hitting you.
Exactly. So it's kind of like, it got to a point where, ESPN, MLB Network, and everybody's like, well, how hard Chapman threw, but now it's like, okay, this is another guy, this is another guy, and this is another guy, and they continue to come, especially with the younger generation, and that's what it's all about. I mean, I understand, that people, sometimes they feel like, the guys they're rushed, a little bit, to the big league level. But if you got the talent and if you dominate your league and you prove that you belong to a big league, why hold you back? I agree. And obviously, I'm right now we are an organization that, we are understanding and continue to promote, our younger players. And why not? I mean, it's like I say, if you're ready and you have the talent and you have the understanding and you have the mindset, to continue to grow, why am I going to stop you? So I feel like there is a lot of help. Obviously, during the off season, some guys they go in the heat with the hitting coaches, and some guys they go and go to different places where they get continue, to develop, and they continue to get better. So it's a very good combination between the season and then the off season, and guys continue to work and continue to get better and continue to push themselves to a very good level. And obviously, there is a motivation behind it. Not just that you're going to be a big leaguer, but now, $710,000. That is a pretty good excuse, for you to go out there and trying to make it to the big league, But I mean, I think, in my humble opinion, I think that, the future, of baseball is very good because, a lot of younger players are coming up, like I said before, and they continue to get better and they continue to push themselves, to the limits. And that is a good thing. Nobody's settling, a lot of the guys, they want to continue to go out there and grind and compete. And as an industry, it's a good thing to, to watch. And obviously every organization is different. Every organization got, different philosophy and different mentality, but at the same time, man, I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. And, now those guys, they really make me look old, because, my players, when I talk to them, and I mention a few guys, from my era, they go like, who is that? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad that these guys, I'm coaching these guys because, it's all about the new wave, like I call it. And, you have to love it. You know what I'm saying?
So actually, while we're on the topic of 100 miles an hour, we actually had your former teammate in Detroit 2 weeks ago, Bruce Rondon. We had him on the show. He actually became the first pitcher in his rookie year to throw 9 pitches 100 miles an hour in one relief outing. I don't know if you caught that game. I know Alex Avila was there too that year. I'm not sure if you caught that game, but yeah, it was his rookie year in August. So that is a little fun fact.
I'll tell you what, he a lot of the players that they didn't remember that it was me. The one who was catching that, that he was him. I'm sorry, the one who was catching that game that Nick Switcher, hit a foul ball, and then I let that baseball come back in to be fair, and I grab it and then I tag him. You know what I mean? And everybody's been talking about that play, for a lot of years and stuff like that. And he was the one who was pitching that day. Okay. He was the one who was pitching that day. And I love Bruce, man. It really was good to us. He was a great teammate, and hopefully, hopefully sooner or later, he can come back, to a big stage, because I know that he's playing in Venezuela during the Winter Bowl, but I don't know who is playing, who is playing now. I don't know if he's playing for an organization.
He's playing in Mexico now.
Mexico, right? Or maybe Mexico. Yeah, or maybe Mexico. But, great time, great time with them. We celebrate together, we cry together. Because that year it was a tough year for all of us. I'm talking about 2013. Right. But with that being said, man, it's the game is evolved, and you have to evolve with the game and continue to get better.
So I wanted to ask also about a teammate of yours that is one of the best pure hitters, maybe the best pure hitter of this generation, Miguel Cabrera. He announced he's going to retire at the end of next season. So what was he like as a teammate and just as a legend, a baseball icon?
If it's not the best, it's one of the best out there. Miggy is one of those guys that he really want you to be better. Miggy is one of those guys that he really will do whatever it takes, for you to be better. And not just if you're Latino or if you are American, Miggy always is there for you. He really make me better. As a matter of fact, I have to be very thankful, to him, to Prince Fielder, Torrey Hunter, Victor Martinez, because, those guys that really helped me with my game. When I played for the Tigers, that was the best year that I had offensively, and all the credit goes to those guys. And obviously, Lloyd McClendon, that he was our hitting coach. But, Miggy, man, Miggy is special. Miggy is one of those guys that he really make you, be around him, love to be around him. And with that being said, I feel like, I have my hopes that he's not going to retire. I have my hope that he continues to do what he's doing, because, look, he's been one of the best hitters that we have, this year, and that he continued to do what he does. If I'm not mistaken, I think today he was 3 for 3,
yes.
or something like that,
I think he was
because here we are in Ohio, so we don't have.
He's still hitting over 300.
But, we're not able to see, our guys, and
he's still hitting over 300
from the Cleveland. TV, station. So, but I think Miggy, man, is one of those guys that he really, 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 going to continue to make a positive impact, in this game, and everybody love Miggy, and why not? Because the guy is first class.
Yeah, it was 3 for 3 with a walk and an RBI today as well.
There we go. You see, I missed that walk, but I know he was like 3 for 3.
He's hitting 300.
It's
so
308 right now. Yes. Yep, on the season.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. We are talking.
It is unbelievable. It is unbelievable.
We are talking to 12-year MLB catcher and West Michigan Whitecaps manager Brayan Pena. Last question from me, Brian. the time that you were on the field, was there a particular player that you were starstruck when you got a chance to see him go to the plate and you're catching against him, or even just having a conversation on the field with some of your, the icons that you remember in the game that everybody loved? Is there a particular player that you just always were starstruck to see when you were on the field?
Me.
Really?
Yeah, because I spent a lot of years with Kansas City, so we had to play them a lot. And remember his prime years. There was those years that I was with the Royals, and then he won the Triple Crown, and then the next year after that he had much better numbers. That in 2013 he had much better number than the one that he had before. It's just like one of those guys that you really want to see what he's doing, because he really give you what you he takes what you give him. And pure hitters, they do that. They're not trying to do too much. They're just trying to stay within themselves, and also they take advantage, of every opportunity that you give them, to be successful. And that is exactly, what Miggy's been doing his entire career. So it's very, very nice, to see, him, continue to do what he's doing, especially for us. But with that being said, Mike Trout, it was a special too. When Mike Trout, he was walking, he got something around him that you go like, wow, this guy, is he a football player? Is he a baseball player? Is he an MMA fighter? Because he's just got that he just got it.
The it factor, yeah.
And yeah, the it factor. Thank you. And he's so humble. He's one of those guys that you really want, him, to marry your daughter. That's it. Because
don't tell your daughter that. Don't tell your wife that.
Exactly. What I said? So he got the money, he got the fame, and also the kid is so humble and so good looking. This kid is perfect. You know what I said? But it's just what impressed me the most, about Mike Trout is that he's been so great for so long, not just on the field, but off the field. That it's a true role model, and I love to see him play too.
So another guy that on the topic of retiring soon, Yadier Molina retiring this year, who you played in the last year of your career with the Cardinals, is also a guy that I've said is going to be if he wants to, is going to be a brilliant future manager with his baseball IQ and the way he works with pitchers. So what was he like as a teammate when you were there in St. Louis the final year of your career?
Wow. I'm talking about, like, probably I'm going to get, some text messages or phone calls, from a few of my friends, but I'm talking about, the best catcher in our generation. I think, a lot of people don't know behind the scene, how hard he prepared and how great he is as a teammate. Let's put it this way. My first year that I signed with the Cardinals, I show up, in spring training, and at 5:30, he already have, everything done. Because at 7 o'clock in the morning, he want to be working with the younger catchers, with the minor league catchers. And he did that every single day. So that is telling you, how much he cares about the organization. That is telling you how much he cares about people, and especially about, the younger catchers. And in the clubhouse, he's one of those guys that everybody loves to be around him, because, there is a lot of knowledge, there is a lot of experience. He makes sure that he always gives you something, for you to continue to learn and for you to continue to get better. And it's exactly what you guys say. I believe that he's going to be a manager in the big league, someday. And right now, I think he's going to be managed in Venezuela this next off season. And then and I don't know yet, because it's not out yet, but probably he's going to have an opportunity to manage the Puerto Rico team in the WBC. So obviously this is just me speculating, because they haven't made that announcement yet. But I know he's ready. Everybody knows that he's ready. Everybody knows that that nobody prepared better than he does. And and he's well respected. Not just on and off the field, but he's impressive. It's impressive to see a guy hit a ground ball to shortstop, and the entire stadium, Jari. He just hit a ground ball to shortstop. Brayan Pena had to hit a homer or something for guys to clap. And this guy just hit a ground ball to shortstop, and everybody's screaming his name and yelling his name. That's how special he is, man. That's how great he's been, for that organization, and for the fans, to appreciate him like that. Him and Wainwright, obviously Wainwright and I, we played together when we were, younger with the Braves. But just to see, the reaction, just to see, how much, the Cardinals fans, love him, and his teammates and coaches and front office and everybody. I mean, it's special. And it's special, and some are chosen, and he's one of those.
Now, before we let you go, I have one question to ask you. Are you a Patriot fan, honestly?
Huge Patriots fan.
Really?
I'll tell you what.
Oh.
This is funny. And I'm going to tell you why it's funny. Because when Brady moved to, when he moved to Tampa, right? I was like, well, this is going to be a real test. Am I a Brady fan or am I a Patriots fan, right? But, I suffered our losses more than anything. And then I embraced his victory, like, okay, I'm glad that he's doing good, but I still upset because we lost, So every Sunday, I go out there and I continue, to suffer. I continue to go out there and it feels like why he left us. I feel like why we didn't do enough, to keep a guy like him. So I definitely more like a Patriots fan than a Brady's fan, But
Brian,
I'm a Michigan fan.
I love you. But the fact that you're a Patriot fan, I'm lost at words. I'm lost at words, man. But
this is gonna be even crazier because I'm obviously I didn't have the blessing and the opportunity, to be in college here, in the States. But I became a Michigan fan, because of Brady. So I'm blue 100%. So it's
another one of our fans that is a big Michigan.
I'm fighting against myself. You know what I mean? Every single Sunday and every single Saturday, I'm fighting against myself. I'm fighting against my feeling. You know what I mean? But I gotta do what it takes to continue to survive. Because I don't want to have a heart attack. When the Patriots and Tampa, they will play, and it was very hard for me. It was very hard for me. Sorry.
It's all right, man. You have nothing to worry about.
It was very hard for me to, that we play against each other. When we played Tampa, and he went and he beat us. But I felt like it was a very competitive game. But I was rooting for the Patriots. So definitely, I'm more a Patriots fan than Brady fan.
They almost won that game too. They were very close.
Yeah, it was very close.
The best
everybody thought it was going to be a blowout or something. But Bill Belichick, man, he did what he's supposed to do, and he kept that game, very close. So we have a chance. We had a chance. So, but Brady's Brady. You got to give him a lot of credit. And obviously, he's one of those guys that he just came to this earth, to be great. And it's hard for you, even though if you're not a Patriots fan or a Tampa fan, it's hard for you not to appreciate what he does.
Well, we really appreciate you joining us, Brian. We know you are a very busy man as you're a manager over there in the minor leagues. We wish you nothing but the best of luck. We definitely would love to get you back on at the end of the season and see how you're doing and see how your team did. And we'll talk more sports with you when we get you back on.
All right, perfect. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it once again, man. I love you both. I'm a huge fan. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry it took a little time, but
it's right.
I hope you guys understood. You know what I mean? That with my schedule it being a little busy, it was a little bit difficult, but it worked perfectly for today. And God bless you guys and your family. And
God bless you.
God bless you too.
And thank you. Thank you for all your time. And we'll talk to you soon. I'll have Speedy reach out to you again, my friend.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Brayan Pena, 12-year MLB vet. West Michigan Whitecaps manager. Nice guy.
Oh, yeah.
Knows his stuff, too, and he told you some stories. Some stories.
Great stories. Some of the best stories, absolutely.
And Jeff sending me stupid things, as always.
Now, the real question is, is Jeff happy that he's a Patriots fan or annoyed he's a Michigan fan?
Oh, he loves him. He loves him. To me, I know Carl loves that he's a Michigan fan.
Absolutely.
What's so funny? Jeff hates Michigan, but Tom Brady played in Michigan.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, and he despises Michigan. But what makes me laugh about Jeff so much is he calls everybody a clown. You know what I mean? It was me, it's you, it's Tyler, it's whoever's on the show. They're clowns. But the biggest clown of them all is you. I mean, you call the show, you act like a clown. Everything is about Boston this and Boston that. But let's be honest. What's going on with your Boston teams? I mean, yes, the Red Sox. I think they're
tied for second in the division.
They're in second place. Oh, big whoop! And listen, you could find a way to make excuses for whatever you want to make. And maybe they're not 100% healthy. And We will get into baseball a little bit later in the show as Max Scherzer is back on the mound after, I think, 4.5 weeks. So the Mets got Max Scherzer back on the mound. But I don't hate Michigan. You sound like you hate Michigan. Every time we talk about Michigan, a Michigan team gets knocked out of the Frozen Four or the what do they call that football? The NCAA
the
Final
football
Four
playoff.
Yeah, the Final Four over there.
Yeah, every time he calls, Georgia scored again.
You sound like you hate Michigan, and
I think he loves that Georgia team more than he hates Michigan, though.
And by the way, Jeff, you bring up your saying. I also came up with there are 3 potential trades with this is just one guy writing this. This was Fadeaway World, July 4th. There was 3 Golden State Warrior trades. Here's the first one. Kevin Durant, Joe Harris, and Seth Curry would go to Golden State. The Brooklyn Nets would get Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, and Jordan Poole. Second package would send Kevin Durant to the Golden State Warriors. The Brooklyn Nets would receive Draymond Green, Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga. 2026 first-round draft pick, 2028 first-round draft pick. That's the second package. The third package, this is just one guy, would send Kevin Durant and Ben Simmons to the Golden State Warriors for Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, James Wiseman, and 3 first-round draft picks. Did I not say that?
Mm-hmm.
So there you go, taking shots at me, calling me a clown, and all that other stuff. This is a package. This is 3 package in one story. So you don't know what you're talking about, and you need to start looking and calling yourself a clown because that's what you are. You should wear the clown nose instead of the clown shoes, or maybe take you to Banana Land where you belong. Okay? Because everything that you say, you think you know everything, and you don't know nothing. It's not impossible. It's right here. It's not impossible, Jeff. Everything's impossible to you. Everything's impossible. And you think I'm telling a story? Go look it up. These are 3 packages right over here. Same story. Whatever. I want to finish up with basketball because, and it's usually, I know you brought up the Knicks, Speedy, and I don't think Donovan Mitchell's going anywhere. I don't think he's leaving Utah. Danny Ainge spoke over the weekend again, saying that he wants to build the team around Donovan Mitchell. So for him to be traded to the Knicks, first of all, Danny Ainge hates the Knicks.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely despises the New York Knicks. So why would he trade Donovan Mitchell to the Knicks? Now, unless he was forcing his way out.
And he's super stingy as it is. So.
So and look what he got for Rudy Gobert. I mean, he robbed.
Yes.
He absolutely robbed the Timberwolves. And I really hope that Rudy Gobert is a perfect fit for that team because they could have set their team back 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, it'll depend on how they develop the rest of the depth. They badly need defense, though, so it kind of makes sense why they're pursuing them. But that's a lot.
I mean, they gave up a lot. What is it, 4 or 5 first-round draft picks?
4 first-round picks. Again, 2.
And a switch.
2, and a switch. And then 4 quality players, too. And, again, a lot of quality young players, too. And 2 big men themselves, too. So Walker Kessler and Vanderbilt, who they just drafted a couple of years ago, too. Both quality big men, too. So the Jazz didn't lose much when it comes to inside defense.
The question is, when you look at, and like I said, I don't see the Knicks making another move unless some crazy thing happens and a player is demanding to get traded to the Knicks. But who's going to demand to go and play for the Knicks? I mean, and this is coming from a Knicks fan. So I can't see the Knicks doing anything else. Maybe a piece here and a piece there. They might try to trade or try to get rid of Julius Randle's contract. But if they get rid of Julius Randle's contract, they have to take on a contract. So I don't see the Knicks doing anything else unless something. And is Jalen Brunson the end-all, be-all for the Knicks to get into the playoffs? Probably not. I mean, honestly,
no.
I think he's a nice pickup because the Knicks haven't had a point guard this good in a very long time. You got to say Derrick Rose, but Derrick Rose, when he went to the Knicks, he was washed up.
Older, yeah.
He was washed up. He wasn't the same MVP Derrick Rose from the Chicago Bulls. And he's been a good player. He's been a good leader, a good 6th or 7th man off the bench. He missed almost the whole season last year. He really fits. Maybe Derrick Rose could get Jalen Brunson even better and help him, develop even better because he's only 25 years old. We'll see what happens. But I can't see the Knicks doing anything else. I don't know what else is out there. And the Knicks cap, I don't know how much room they have left. Speedy, you can look that up. I don't know how much cap room they have left. So what is the probability they're going to get a piece that's going to help them get into the playoffs?
Yeah, it would probably only be like another like second or third tier big man if that is the case. The Knicks current they have 16 million in cap.
What is that going to get you?
Yeah.
I mean, really, in the NBA, what is that going to get you? A veteran's minimal?
Yeah, it might get you like I said, a young, like maybe second or third tier type player, or like maybe a veteran guy that's probably
not going to do
solid
anything.
Starter, really.
The Julius Randle, and Josh said it right. The Julius Randle signing was at that time it seemed like a good signing, but after last year, it's a bad signing. It really is. It might have set the Knicks back for another 2 or 3 years.
I don't think anyone expected him to fall off as badly as he did, though, at the time. Because, again, we were even saying it was kind of thought of as a bargain with how he played, but it was such a fluke, I guess, the way it was. It fell to the all other extreme.
You know what's so funny? Now he's attacking me for what I said about Donovan Mitchell. Again, he was over there. He hung out with Obi Toppin. He hung out with Emmanuel Quickly. But again, Danny Ainge came out, idiot. And he spoke over the weekend. Actually, was Saturday before. I think it was before Sunday. It was Saturday night. He talked about building the team around Donovan Mitchell. So unless he's trying to tell the Knicks that come and get him, you're going to have to give up 5 or 6 first-round draft picks to get him. He's not trading him. So it doesn't matter how many times. I believe Donovan Mitchell wants to play in New York. I believe it. Unless he pushes his way out and he tells Danny Ainge, I'm not playing for Utah, so you better trade me. That would be the only way Donovan Mitchell gets traded to the Knicks. Now, I do believe he wants to be a Knick. Everything that I've heard, he wants to be a Knick. What is he saying?
Snuck says, why is Danny Ainge an idiot? But he was in New York, Jeff said. I guess referencing what you were saying last week with the Instagram thing.
He was hanging out with 2 New York Knicks players. And what does that tell you? Why would he be going out with Obi Toppin and Emmanuel Quickly? Okay, you sound stupid, Jeff. And I don't care how many shots you're going to take at me and say what I said about Donovan Mitchell. Again, I could go back on what I said for what Danny Ainge said over the weekend. Danny Ainge said that he is building the team around Donovan Mitchell. And unless Donovan Mitchell tells Danny Ainge, I want to be traded to the Knicks, trade me, it's never going to happen.
Also, I think, too, you have to consider what they got back to, and also Danny Ainge's history with the Celtics, too. He's always been very stingy in trades. Now, sometimes that has backfired.
He hates the Knicks.
Not only that, sometimes it's backfired where the Celtics were a favorite for a guy, and he either didn't want to pay him as much as they wanted to, or didn't want to trade away as many draft picks as they wanted to once he accumulated all those from the Nets, too. We heard them in rumors a lot for guys like Anthony Davis in the past. Even initially after Kyrie Irving left, a lot of different point guards. So he's not going to make it easy unless, like you were saying, Donovan Mitchell says, I'm not playing.
And now Jeff's saying Errol's checking the salary cap. Now this is hilarious. Here's the hilarious part. I asked him what the salary cap is because I know what Brunson took a little bit less money because he wanted to create more salary room so they can bring in another player. And the only way why I asked him that is with the Julius Randle contract, I'm trying to figure out how they can fit a Donovan Mitchell in if they were to trade for him. And you're the only joke and you're the only idiot, Jeff. Right. But you want to know something, Jeff? I don't really care what you say. You know, you say stupid things and it's always about Boston this and Boston that. Your Boston Celtics didn't win this year. Your Patriots aren't going to win this year. Your Red Sox aren't going to win this year. And your Bruins aren't going to win this year. So you can keep talking and, another parade we're going to see, another parade. Where was the parade this year, Cloud Shoes? Where was the parade?
Julius Randle this year is making $23.67 million.
Which is a pretty good deal
million
for a guy that was an all-star 2 years ago. Now, last year he fell off in the first half. He got better in the second half. The last 15, 20 games that he played better. I mean, when you look at a guy that's averaging 20 and 10, you would say that he's a good player. But it just, to me, Julius Randle is just, he doesn't work good with young players.
Yeah, that's the problem for one. And the other problem, too, and is an era of efficiency that models in a shooting league in the NBA. I'm not talking necessarily about just 3-pointers, but just efficiency in general. He shot 41% last year. And yes, he might have had a lot of rebounds, but there is also a big difference between just a good rebounder and a good raw defender. And Julius Randle, he was better defensively in Thibodeau's system the first year, but then just fell off badly. The Knicks played better defensively in the second half of the season in games he didn't play in.
And the Lakers are still interested in Kyrie Irving, and everything that I've read is the Brooklyn Nets only want to trade Kyrie to one team, and that's the LA Lakers. Now, how does that fit? What are they going to get back for Kyrie Irving? Now, if the Lakers get Kyrie Irving, their first-round draft picks are not going to be, lottery picks.
Right.
So what are they really getting? What are they really giving up? They're going to have to get rid of Russell Westbrook. So Russ would probably have to go to the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, that's a contract, 1 year left on the contract. It does free up salary cap room for next year, but who's going to want to play over there in Brooklyn if you don't have KD and you don't have Kyrie over there, and you're probably going to trade Ben. So you're rebuilding again. So how does that work? And what else are they going to give up? They don't want to trade Davis.
Right.
So what do they have? What young players that they have that the Brooklyn Nets would be interested in, unless they bring in another team, a 3-team trade?
Yeah, they're going to have to at this point. I know we were talking about the Thunder one last week as a team that has so much young talent.
Maybe bring Portland in. I don't know.
Maybe Portland's another option. It has to be a team with enough young players in order to make it work. I don't even know if they have the depth of young players.
They have money.
They have money for sure, but even the depth of young players, unless they just got a lot of draft picks collectively from either team, it would probably have to be a team like OKC that had a lot of draft picks and now have a lot of young players all at once. Because, yeah, the Lakers definitely don't have that level of a high upside type young player. Even this draft, too, when they were supposed to have a high pick, they didn't have their pick this year. So they didn't even have a chance to be able to do that kind of thing. None of these young players scream on this Lakers roster, guys that are complete players that could be developed. Austin Reeves is a good shooter. They have McClung that was a good player. But again, these guys are all specialists. Somebody like Talen Horton-Tucker is a good defensive player. These are all specialists. These aren't complete players with a lot of upside by any means.
I'm trying to look at, and there are some good young teams that are going to have good, like Orlando with all the draft stock that they've had over the last couple of years.
Too, yeah.
And they have a lot of money. We'll have to see how these players develop, but eventually Orlando will have it right. They'll get it right, and then they could bring in some free agents that'll come and play with some of their youth and young talent. I mean, they've got some tremendous good young talents. So, again, fake news. Good. Jeff, everything that you say is fake news. Why am I even wasting my time talking with you on a feed? The only fake news is you. Go swim in your swimming pool, sink to the bottom of the pool, and do whatever the hell you want to do, man. Fake news. Donovan Mitchell. You know what's going to be really funny? And I can't wait for this. Donovan Mitchell might not be traded now, but eventually, after he sees how bad the Utah Jazz is going to be this year, he's going to demand a trade, and he gets traded to the Knicks. And then I'm going to shove it up your you-know-what. And then what are you going to say, Jeff? What are you going to say? You're going to hide in your cocoon. You're going to hide in your shell when you're wrong. But that's what you do. All I said is right now, after they traded Rudy Gobert, and what Danny Ainge said over the weekend is Donovan Mitchell is probably not getting traded. That's all he said. Does that mean that he's not trading him? I don't know. I don't know what Danny Ainge is trying to do. But we have seen Danny Ainge do this before. What is he saying?
You're going back on your walk back.
What's my walk back? What are you talking about? Going back on my walk back what? That he went out to dinner with Emmanuel Quigley? That he went out to dinner with Opie Toppin? Those are facts. I'm not going back on anything.
I just want to answer Carl's question from a little bit ago. We were talking about Michigan because our guest Brayan Pena was mentioning since he started working for the Tigers and managing in West Michigan, he started accumulating them as his college football team. So it was brought up, and then he's also a Patriots fan, so connected with Brady.
Yeah,
so that's the context of that. So I jokingly said after the interview,
you know what's so funny? Brian barely knows us. He's a big fan of ours. He loves us, and he's a Patriot fan, and he actually gives us a little bit of respect. We have these dumb Patriot fans that listen to our show that give us no respect or has something to, smart to say about everything that we say. Like we're 100% right. Sports radio is no guarantees. If you actually listen to sports radio, smart ass, because that's what you are. If you actually listen to sports radio, 90% of the things that they talk about is not going to come true. It's a way to stir up things. It's the way to have a conversation where fans could listen to your take. You could call them clowns. I could tell you a bunch of radio show hosts that make millions and millions of dollars on the radio that perceive you on what they say when it comes to sports. And by the way, people still listen to them and still like what their takes are. My take was I brought up Kevin Durant and Ben Simmons going to Golden State, and you say it's impossible. Well, tell that to the writer that wrote it, you clown.
I also think, though, too, when you look at this market for Kyrie Irving, the Lakers, them being kind of that last team left, you kind of feel like the Nets are going to have to try their best to even get a third team involved at this point to be able to get any resemblance of young players. Because I mentioned on the Weekend Crunch too, that because the Lakers don't have the young talent, they're going to have to either gamble on the straight Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant swap, or they're going to have to get a third team involved. But even if somebody like OKC doesn't want to get involved, that's not a good sign for both those teams, which are kind of in the same salary cap hell and situation. Now, the Lakers obviously are in better position than the Nets are right now because none of their guys have forced themselves
Now,
out.
this makes a lot of sense. DeAndre Ayton could be a sign and trade piece to trade to the Brooklyn Nets.
Yep.
Now, that is something that I'm reading here as well. It would said DeAndre Ayton and 2 other pieces from the Phoenix Suns to the Brooklyn Nets and a pick.
Yeah.
And a pick to the Brooklyn Nets for KD. I don't know the other 2 players.
I would imagine it's either something probably like Cam Johnson and maybe Jalen Smith, the forward they drafted in the first round 2 years ago, and maybe another first round pick, I would imagine. I don't think they would have to trade Bridges if they have to trade Ayton. I think he's too valuable to them defensively.
But you would have thought after the free agency market opened up that DeAndre Ayton would have been taken right off the list of free agents right away. And we heard Detroit, and then they traded with the Knicks, the Knicks for Nerlens Noel and Alex Burks.
And then they took on Kemba, yeah.
And they took on Kemba Walker. So now they have no room. So where does DeAndre Ayton go? Who's interested in him? I haven't read anything with DeAndre Ayton. Everybody thought he was a hot ticket. He was going here, he was going there.
I know you also mentioned the Hawks as a possibility if they trade Capella, too.
Well, they just... I don't know if they're going to trade Capella.
Yeah,
and now that
I'm not sure
in,
either. Yeah.
Now they brought the point guard
Murray,
in from Murray from the Spurs. I mean, obviously he's still on his rookie contract, so they don't really have to pay him.
No, he's actually not on his rookie contract. He's not. I don't think he's on a max contract.
He didn't. Did they extend him?
Yeah, they gave him a new 4-year contract, but it's not.
How
a max
long has he been in the league?
I believe this is his 6th year in the league. They just signed him recently. It was a 4-year deal.
Did they draft him?
Yes. He was a late first-round pick, one of the years they made the Western Conference Finals or something like that. I want to say it was either 2016 or 17, but his contract is not bad. It's actually only $16 million a year on average annual value. I think there's some years he'll get 17. I don't know if Atlanta was planning on re-extending him and making him a max player because the way he played last year, 21-8-9, definitely deserving of it. But
it's 1 year. You have to see it multiple years for you to give him a contract.
Yeah, that's the point. I think he only might have gotten the veteran minimum for maybe a second team all rookie or maybe a first team all rookie. He might have been the last guy. I don't remember that year because that 2016 draft class was not great as it was. Except for Brandon Ingram, a lot of guys had a lot of trouble getting going in that draft. And so he might have made that.
He's the only big name that's still available, DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah.
Who else is available? I mean, Zach LaVine signed back with Chicago.
Yep.
I mean,
Bradley
Beal signed back with the Wizards. Who's available?
Yeah, it's really only a lot of just young big men.
KD and Kyrie getting traded. That's it.
It's really only at this point young big men, which aren't getting the same level of value in.
Well, because most of these guys can't shoot threes.
Right. In a wing type league, in a versatile type league, it's very hard for those pure centers to get value. Another guy that's been brought up has been Miles Turner. But again, he's another one that's more of just a traditional center, kind of like a younger type of Gobert. Like he shoots a little better probably, but he's not the same level of defender. And he also, like we were saying about Mitchell Robinson and guys like that, they have also had their injury issues.
And I loved what the Pacers did at the trade deadline last year, and then they traded away a piece to the Celtics.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense.
Right.
I mean, they were up and coming. It looked like they were getting everything, all their ducks in a row. They have Rick Carlisle there.
Sacramento,
They fleeced Sacramento. Everything looked like it was going. And then they traded one of their better young players to the Celtics. Right. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's when you look at the way the NBA works, and again, it's all about the cap room and like every other sport except baseball. With football, it's all about fitting the cap and making sure that, everything works out each year so you can go after free agents or, you have to pay your rookies from the draft and all that other stuff. With basketball, it's so interesting because a lot of even I think like the 13th or 12th player on the bench is still making over $1 million.
Right.
So it's ridiculous.
It's technically,
and they never even step on the court.
Yeah, it's technically a cap that's there, but it doesn't have as much formalities as you would want it to for a league that has a lot of salary cap in place. That's because
look at this. Jeff says Brad Stevens turned Daniel Theis into Malcolm Brogdon, GM of the year. That makes him GM of the year. Get out of here. Jeff, that's the problem with you. That is the problem with you. You are a Celtics Boston fan. So anything they do, it's great. It's perfect. It's wonderful. Okay? And whatever the Knicks do or any of the New York teams do or anybody else, it's terrible. It's the Knicks. They stink. Nothing good ever comes out of your mouth about anything else but your Boston team. And that shows you as a homer. That's what you are, a homer. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Wasn't he also saying that Udoka should have won Coach of the Year too in the regular season?
Yeah, whatever. And did he? Did he?
No, he wasn't going to.
No. So there you go. My Errol's so butthurt. No, I'm not butthurt. It just shows you how much your head's so far up your Boston teams. You know what? That you have something to say about anything that we talk about with the New York teams. And let's get on it. Let's be honest. Honestly, the New York, besides the Yankees and the Mets, most of the New York teams are. The Rangers had a good season. Yeah. They had a good season, but lately they suck. And the Islanders the last 2 years, besides this year, was pretty good. But most of the New York sports are terrible. So of course you're going to make fun of, and you're going to make fun of the New York sports and what they do. Oh, and there's like 15 professional New York teams, and we have 4 professional Boston teams, and we've won more championships in the last 15 years. Who cares? Who cares? That's all I'm going to say about that. Who cares? We're talking about now. Nobody cares about past tense. Nobody cares about yesterday. They care about now. When was the last time a Boston team won a championship, Jeff?
The Patriots 3 years ago.
3 years ago. Okay? Now, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about later. We're talking about now. Is any of the Boston teams winning a championship this year? Probably not. So we're going to sit here. You think Mac Jones and the New England Patriots are going to win anything in the AFC the way it is? They're not.
Jeff, we have a guest. Call back after our guest.
I don't care what Jeff. Listen, Jeff could call back whenever he wants. But I best believe, ladies and gentlemen, when he does call, he's going to have a handful with me tonight because I'm not dealing with his crap. I'm not dealing with his
Jeff,
boring,
call back after our
baby
guest.
You don't want to talk about clown shoes? He should be in a circus, okay? I would tie an anchor to the bottom of his leg and watch him sink, okay? That's what I would love to see. Him sail to the bottom of the ocean floor.
Now you've reached beef levels.
It's just terrible.
That's what he says all the time.
He has got so much, and we'll get to our guest in just one moment, but he has said so much crazy stuff to say. He wants to attack everything everybody else says, but when he says it, he's right. He's perfectly right. Oh, GM of the year. Let's give it to Brad Stevens after he robbed the Pacers. Okay. I thought it was a good trade, but to say that he robbed the Pacers and he's GM of the year because of it, it's ridiculous. All right, whatever. When we come back, we'll be talking to author of Midrange Theory and the Athletic NBA Analyst, Seth Partnow, here on the Sports Loudmouth.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next-door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, this is the Sports Loudmouths. You can call us at 631-672-3108 is the number. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app on iOS, WWSRN or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Well, we had a baseball guy on, and why not get an NBA analyst in? We've been talking NBA since free agency. Jeff has his foot up his you-know-what, so we definitely got to get into this Kevin Durant saga thing. But before we get into that, we're going to get into his book. We are now talking to author of the Midrange Theory and the Athletic NBA Analyst, Seth Partnow. What's going on, Seth?
How's it going, guys? I feel like I'm jumping on a treadmill going 12 miles an hour, just from what I heard before the break from you guys. So I'll see if I can get up to speed fast enough. But
well, we're here to entertain, so I hope you were entertained from that. But that's sports radio.
I have thoughts on the Malcolm Brogdon deal if you want them.
Absolutely. Before we get into the Malcolm Brogdon thing, tell us a little bit. By the way, how are you doing since the COVID situation? And how's your family doing? I mean, hopefully nobody has monkeypox because that seems like the next, strand of things. But anyways, how are you guys doing? And then we'll get into your book.
We're doing well. We're actually, you can see that's not my house behind me. That's not even the Airbnb we're currently staying at. But we're actually on a family road trip, culminating in Las Vegas for the summer league.
Oh wow!
So I actually get to Vegas tomorrow. So, but
good for you.
Yeah, no, family's good. We somehow managed to make it through 2.5 years with nobody getting COVID. I don't know how, especially given the amount I travel. But yeah, knock on wood here. No, everything's good. It's a very busy time of year for anyone around the NBA. I think that's one of those things that is confusing to people on the outside. Is okay. The people think the playoffs, but it's actually like the week the playoffs ends. Heading into summer league is usually the busiest month of the year for anyone who works in and around the league, because you get the draft, you get free agency, you got summer league, and you got, everyone at summer league, everyone's trying to find new jobs. It is a wild time of year. And so it's busy, but good busy.
So why don't we get into your book? Tell us a little bit about first of all, what made you decide to write a book about the mid-range theory? And tell us a little bit about the book. What is the mid-range theory?
So the short reason is, when I left the Bucks front office and went back to the media, I thought, at some point I'll write a book. I'm not really sure what about. And then around the All-Star break 2020, the publisher Triumph called me up and said, "Hey, you should write a book." And I was like, "Well, I guess I'm writing a book." And then I got some good advice that, especially a lot of the stuff that I'd written before I went to the Bucks front office, like I had covered that ground, but nobody had read it really. So it was kind of okay to revisit and update. So it's a little bit of a greatest hits album almost, of kind of some topics in basketball analytics. As far as the title's a little tongue in cheek. It's one of the first hip hop albums I owned was the Low End Theory by Tribe Called Quest. And a number of years ago, we were some folks and I were starting a basketball analytics blog, and the second place name for the blog was the Midrange Theory, which was like it ended up becoming Nylon Calculus. But I sort of had that in my back pocket. So I was like, I'm writing a book. I guess it's called the Midrange Theory. As far as what the Midrange Theory is, really, it's a little tongue in cheek there as well. With people blame analytics, too many threes, blah blah blah. It's really looking at like what that actually means. Which shots have become 3-pointers, and it's not like the Kobe gets the elbow, Dirk dream shakes and elevates for a fadeaway, or Chris Paul getting to the elbow, or Dirk doing the Dirk step. It's the random power forwards who can't do anything with the ball in their hands, aren't spotting up at 18 feet on the baseline anymore. They're spotting up in the corner. Those are the shots that have become threes. And it's like, do you miss that? If you're, the mid-range game is gone. Are those the shots you miss, or is it the stars creating on their own, breaking the defense down, getting to a spot, getting a tough bucket? Same types of players are still taking those shots in about the same amounts. And so that's really what that that chapter of the book is about. And it's covering a number of other topics. You guys were just talking about the way the salary cap influences free agency and trades, and the draft and stuff like that. And it just covered a number of different topics that are of interest to me in sort of the world of basketball analytics and NBA analytics.
So I saw that your book had references from both Tim Bontemps and Zach Lowe at ESPN. Also some players as well. Did you work with any players in that book as well, and other maybe analysts like that, and even insiders within that? And what were those experiences like in that?
So I mean, I certainly, from my time in the league, I think I there's a lot of people I could talk to, sort of not to be quoted, but a lot of the stuff is based on both my experiences and those of others. So it's not like, oh, Seth said this, so that must have been something that happened with the Bucks. It's like, no, that's sort of a lot of people used me a little bit as a conduit to get some stories and opinions out there. In terms of players, that's a really interesting one that comes up. It's like, oh, how do you talk to players about this? It's like, well, the short version is you don't. It's a little bit different than baseball, where because numbers have been a part of baseball, and you sort of have time to plan between actions, it's a little easier. So you cannot play basketball thinking. So the last thing I ever wanted to do was go up to a player and say, "Hey, Giannis, you should think about blah blah blah." It's like, no, you go to the coach and say, "Here's something we've noticed about Giannis's game. Integrate, use it, don't use it. Like, if it makes sense with everything else that's going on, you can implement it." And so that's the way that works. So the notion that the guy who's writing code is like going to the star player and saying, actually, you should shoot a 3-pointer on the break, and then the players do that. Like that's one that's always funny to me. It's like, oh wow, what else can we do? So yeah.
We are talking to the author of the Midrange Theory and the Athletic NBA Analyst, Seth Partnow. Before we get into some of the NBA stuff going on, did you see the new documentary or whatever, new miniseries of The Rise, the Giannis story with his family? Did you check that out?
I have not seen it yet. I think the time I had for basketball media was more Hustle, which I thought was great. The Adam Sandler movie with
great.
Fonzo
That was great.
Gomez. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of details that people like to watch, like Draft Day, because it's so ridiculous. And I think they got a lot of kind of the scouting and front office stuff right in that movie in ways that made me think that they talked to people who knew what was going on. I enjoyed it.
The only thing I hated about that movie is, and I don't want to tell anybody the story if they didn't get a chance to see it. The one thing is you were moving up to the draft and there was no draft. It was like you go to all these draft things and the combine and everything like that, and then there wasn't any draft. We don't know where he was drafted. Obviously, we know who he played for at the end of the movie, but we don't know what number he was drafted at. I mean, it was him or Kermit. They were the two best guys at the combine, so I guess he went 1 or 2. But were the Celtics drafting at 1 or 2? We don't know where they were drafting, and that's, to me, I think was such an important part of the movie and where he was getting drafted.
That feels like a minor quibble in the way the movie, it's the end basketball game is more the climax, and the draft would have felt almost like superfluous. So I was fine with that.
Okay.
But no, I haven't seen the movie, the Giannis Rise, though. I mean,
it's like a series, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard it doesn't have. So I've heard it doesn't have a lot of basketball in it. I'm sure there's some liberties taken, but in terms of it showing like how important his family was to his success and continues to be with him, that's 1,000% true. They're a very close family, and that's been a big part of his success, a big part of the reason why he chose to stay in Milwaukee. And frankly, I don't think he ever really considered. This is not based on any information, just knowing what I know about him. I don't think he ever really considered going anywhere else, in part because Milwaukee has been so good to his family.
Interesting.
So, what was your time like working in the Bucks front office, and what are some of the things that you learned in not only working with those players but developing the way they did? Obviously, winning a championship last year, and maybe some of the nuances added from that into your book as well.
So the biggest thing that is the amount of information that flies at you when you're making these decisions. Like we see them, from the outside, we see them as kind of two-dimensional. You add all the other stuff, the intelligence, the personalities, the agents, the different coaches or players have worked with guys before. All that stuff comes into play. It goes from two-dimensional to three-dimensional. And a lot of that stuff doesn't actually matter, but you don't know which are the important bits and which aren't. And so so separating out the things that are, okay, well, this guy's a hard worker, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, is that the thing that's going to make or break him? Or is the fact that he can't shoot a jumper and he doesn't pick up, skills that way very well, so he's never going to develop one? Like, which of those is more important, but which of those can you figure out beforehand? So I like to say that even moves that we see that don't seem to make sense, there's always a reason. It may not be a good reason. It may not be a reason you agree with, but the person who made that move can always tell you, well, here's why I did it. And, it probably makes some sort of internal logic how they got there, even if it's ended up being a bad decision, all things considered.
As everybody knows, we are talking to author of the Midrange Theory and the Athletic NBA Analyst, Seth Partnow. So, Seth, we're talking about free agency and back and forth banter right now with different fans because obviously the talk was the Knicks brought in Brunson. I'm kind of skeptical about this move. I really like Jalen Brunson. I really do. And he did take less money to go with the Knicks instead of going to Dallas for 108. And he is 25 years old. But because of the way the cap is, because of Julius Randle, I'm still skeptical that this is the piece that's going to get him over the hump, that's going to get him to the playoffs every single year. What were your thoughts when the Knicks made that move and they put all their eggs in this basket for Jalen Brunson?
I kind of hate that move for everybody involved. I like Dallas's offseason makes no sense. I understand why the Knicks did it, but it feels sort of like this is a thing you see in the NBA a lot, where a team gets so focused on getting the guy rather than getting a guy that they start to do things like hire relatives and and trade assets to move off of not that much money for other players to clear space to do things. And frankly, I don't think it's going to be a great spot for Brunson to have success. I mean, there's notions that he's going to be the number one options. Like, there's two other guys who kind of do operate in very similar areas of the floor than he do. It's a very weird situation because usually, like, being left-handed means you kind of are attacking from different angles. Well, the Knicks' two most ball dominant players are also left-handed. So it's like, well, who gets to attack off the right wing to drive middle? You can't put all three of them there. So I think that, like, frankly, for Brunson, playing off of Luka was probably be a better role for him to have success than it will be in New York. Now, maybe the Knicks upgrade talent, put better spacing around him, get kind of a more reliable, like, pick and roll partner for him. Then yeah, sure, it could work down the road. I think this year it might not be, frankly, for him, it might not be pretty. So it's one of those things, you understand why it happens, but it's just like,
doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And on top of that, like, the Knicks are in a spot, like, where does it get them? Like, how confident would you be of them? Okay, they're probably a play-in team now. Are you confident of them being a top 6 seed in the East, given how good Milwaukee and Boston and Philadelphia and Miami and Atlanta has made moves, and depending on how things shake out, Brooklyn could or could not be pretty good. Toronto's gonna, those are, I think I just ripped off 7 teams, 6 of whom I'm pretty confident would be better, and we haven't even talked about Cleveland or Chicago yet. So it was curious for me from sort of all sides. And again, the Dallas side is you're signing JaVale McGee, you're trading draft assets for Christian Wood, and then you're letting what you really need is someone to help take some of the burden off of Luka, who is the most ball dominant player in the league, and you kind of want to reduce that sum. And then you lose the second best and really the only other reliable playmaker on the team for nothing in return. It doesn't make sense as a series of moves. Like if they have decided like, hey, Jalen Brunson isn't worth this much money and we're going to lose him and we might have to take a step back this year, that makes sense. But why are you giving 3 years to JaVale McGee and trading a pick for Christian Wood if you're doing that?
I would say this. I would say he was underpaid for a point guard. If he does develop into even a better player. Now he's averaging this year. He averaged about 16 and 5. If he averages about, he gets better every single year, and he, at his max, he's averaging between 22 and 24 points a game, and he's giving the Knicks 5 or 6 assists. I mean, he's only 25. He's not even in the prime yet. I think 2 years from now, you would say you consider him in his prime. So if he gets to that point, I mean, making, the amount of money he's making, what is it, 22, 23 million?
It starts around 27.
Yeah.
But no, and the cap is likely to go up in a couple of years with the media deal, the new media rights deal kicking in. So like it's the money for, when you're talking about this stuff from like a salary cap perspective, it's not like, oh, it's so much money, I can't believe this guy, blah blah blah. It's like, no, it's chips at the poker table.
Right.
It's like you used this much of your stack on that move, and that like puts you at risk of not having enough for things that happen later. And so I didn't, if the Knicks had otherwise kind of clean books, sure. But I think, they have the Randall contract is not looking great right now, though he has a chance to rehab that value. They're about to have to sign RJ Barrett to an extension. They've got, they cleared some of them out to in terms of Burks and Noel to clear the space. But now you're talking, it's not just the money you paid him, it's also the stuff you had to trade to create the space to right. So it's much like Dallas. It's the sort of the series of moves that when you say, okay, that one individually made sense, that one individually, then you look back and see at the total kind of what you did, and it's like, I don't love what I got out of that. That's sort of that's my perspective on it, and I'm willing to be completely wrong. Like Jalen Brunson, frankly, has never been a player that I've been a huge fan of, and he's proven me wrong several different times already. He's already a much better NBA player than I thought he would be. So he could do it again and I could look stupid, and that wouldn't be the first time. So I'm okay with that.
So you mentioned in the last question that you think a lot of teams try to go for the guy rather than going for a good piece. And obviously, you being in the Bucks front office, you saw how they built their team, and they built their team in a lot of good depth around Giannis and Middleton, guys like that. Now, a lot of the other extremes have been teams like the Nets, teams like the Lakers that have tried to build the big threes again all over, and they haven't worked to some extent. Do you think that kind of concept will fade and teams will try to build more like the Bucks and teams like that?
I mean, I think when people contrast the Bucks to that, I think that's selling Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday a little bit short. I mean, I'm probably biased here, but like, Drew Holiday has been one of my favorite players for a long time, and I think he remains one of the more underrated two-way players in the league. And Chris Middleton is, if he was in a different market, would be recognized as one of like the premier shot makers in the league. But the fact that he's in a smaller market and is overshadowed by Giannis, he was at times like the most important player in the playoffs for the Bucks last year. So, and missing him this year was one of the most important factors in Boston beating them. So I think that contrast is maybe a little overdone. I will say that the idea of get a bunch of superstars together or a couple superstars together and then have a bunch of minimum guys and vets who are past it, stuff like that, that doesn't work anymore, because the playoffs are too competitive. Teams are too good at finding, if you've got to put a player out there who isn't up to that level of play, teams are too good at the top level, are too good at exploiting that. I think we saw that with like Miami a little. Their depth started to get hurt a little bit, and Max Strus is a decent enough, player if you're asking for him to give you 12 minutes a game. If you're starting him in the Eastern Conference Finals, you run into that. So I mean, I can give in terms of the get a guy, not the guy. I can give an example from the guy who's been important. It was Pat Connaughton. When we signed him, we had a list of I don't remember who exactly was on the list, but it was 8 to 10 kind of shooting guard, wing type players who were going to be available. We liked them all around the same. Some of them were going to get paid. Some of them were going to get like mid-level exceptions and stuff like that. But we knew that a couple of them would end up being available on minimum contracts. So we were like, let's not, go crazy after and pick one. We like all these guys. Any one of them will help our team. Let's wait and see. And see what shakes out for us. And it happened to be that the guy who ended up, it's sort of like in the draft, a guy falls to you. Very similar in free agency. Like Pat Connaughton was that guy, and he's been a very successful player and has been a key part of the Bucks for the last 4 or 5 years.
We are talking to author of the Midrange Theory and Athletic NBA Analyst, Seth Partnow. Seth, we talk about, again, back to the free agents, and we were talking about the Malcolm Brogdon move, which sent him to the Celtics. The Celtics didn't really trade anything for him. I don't know what the Pacers are thinking. Maybe the Pacers are trying to open up space where they can bring in another superstar. Who knows what the Pacers are thinking? I thought at the trade deadline, they won the trade deadline with the trade with Sacramento. I think they absolutely fleeced Sacramento, and they put themselves right in position where this is one of the more up and coming, offensive and defensive teams in the NBA with Rick Carlisle there. Before we get into the Kevin Durant situation, because that's the most interesting thing right now in the NBA, what are your thoughts so far in free agency this year? What really stood out to you the most? What move really stood out the most as far as what you've seen in the last couple of days?
I mean, obviously, the biggest single move was probably the Brunson signing. The trend that's interesting is just all of the kind of huge extensions that have been signed. That's Beal and Levine and Darius Garland. That's a little different situation because it's a lot different giving a rookie a guy who's coming off his rookie deal like the 25% max as opposed to a guy who's deep into his career the 35% max. It's a lot easier. I mean, that's in terms of translating wins to dollars, that's like 3 wins a season difference in terms of how much you need to produce. And that's it's a huge amount. That's like almost another starter level of player difference between the two. So that's a big one. And then obviously like teams continuing to just throw, like, I don't want to say like throw, but like being willing to put draft picks into deals. Atlanta trading for DeJounte Murray, and obviously Minnesota trading for Rudy Gobert.
Crazy move by them.
I mean, so maybe. I think Rudy, like I mentioned, Drew Holiday being one of the more underrated players in the NBA. I think the disconnect between how people talk about Rudy Gobert and the impact he has on the game is pretty massive. Like the Timberwolves were a team that occasionally struggled on defense. Until he ages out of that level of player, you have a top 10 defense if you have Rudy Gobert on your team. Like that's maybe it doesn't hold up as well in the playoffs, but for a team like Minnesota, like where have you been? Like, okay, we have a top 10 defense and we have Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns. We can do some things with that.
They also have D'Angelo Russell too. Look at his face.
Yeah. That he is still on the roster. It's like I think that I would probably
don't like him very much.
He's very Jalen Brunson-esque, I could see.
I would let's put it this way: if they had Jalen Brunson in that spot instead of D'Angelo Russell, I would be even higher on the Timberwolves than I am. So, but no, so it's a lot. It's a big gamble, but I think teams are seeing like, you don't win the championship without taking risks. Now, whether the risks are good or not, I think to some extent time will tell. But I do like the fact that teams are like screw it, let's go.
Right. So in general, like you're seeing like all these big extensions as it is, and also coming earlier for younger players. One, with their current teams, do you see that kind of thing being a new trend where it seems like guys are staying with their teams rather than trying to explore the big markets or trying to team up? And also, can you see a situation where the NBA becomes like baseball, where guys get starting to paid earlier in their time because young players are the wave of the league?
So I think part of it is the previous CBA to this one made extensions for really for high level veteran players, just made it not worth it for the player to do. So many more guys hit free agency. Now the extension rules have changed to the point where it just, from a player standpoint, you can lock in guaranteed 9-figure money much easier, like, 150, 200, 250 million dollar guaranteed money going out, 4 or 5 years. You can do that much easier now. And so from a player standpoint, yeah, let's do it. From a team standpoint, it seems like it's a good thing. If the player is going to hold up, however, and this is something that's going to come up a lot in the next CBA negotiation, is, we've now seen with Ben Simmons and now Kevin Durant a couple instances where guys like, okay, I got my extension, now trade me. And that's something that the owners are not going to be very happy, and I think justifiably so. Like okay, we signed you to we agreed on this big deal because we agree that you're going to be on our team and to be a big part of our team, and you turn right around and say, yeah, thanks for the money, now get me out of here. Like, that's not tenable if that continues to be a regular thing. You had a second half of that question.
I was going to ask, like, players are getting like paid kind of earlier, younger, kind of like a little bit like baseball to an extent, but not to the same extreme. But do you think like more teams will have that kind of system where they pay them earlier before they get too costly?
I think so. I think teams have gotten smarter about how they structure, for example, contracts for second round picks so that they can, get them at reasonable rates if they're good after their third year. You saw the Nuggets do that with Nikola Jokic. It's like, okay, if we keep him for a fourth year, he's an unrestricted free agent. Let's just not do that. Let's take care of him a year early. And obviously that has worked out very well for them. I think on the other side, we're also seeing, there are contracts around the league where I'm wondering at what point people are going to start to say, these 4 or 5 year extensions at huge money for guys, in or entering their early 30s. These are bad. You can't win those deals, and then you're left, 3-4 years down the road, you're left with, John Wall had to get bought out. Russell Westbrook is where he is, and I think we're going to end up with a lot of those deals around the league. And I think the teams that are avoid those and are able to kind of to go after the younger up and coming players, the players who still have room for development, I think that's I think that is a better model for success than, well, Bradley Beal's pretty good, let's sign him to all we can and then hope we get lightning in a bottle and put the right team around him.
As everybody knows, we are talking to author of Midrange Theory and Athletic NBA Analyst Seth Partnow. Let's get into this Kevin Durant thing, because it seems like it's the talk of the NBA. Last week, I think it was Thursday or it was Wednesday, the story came out. Adrian Wojnarowski came out and said that KD went up to the management and said that he wanted to be traded. A lot of people blame Sean Marks. Some people are saying that he doesn't have a good relationship with Sean Marks. The whole Kyrie Irving situation, they didn't want to give him the mega deal. Who would have given him the mega deal with everything and on and off the court that Kyrie has really brought to the picture? Now, I think Kyrie Irving is a top 10 player in the league talent-wise. I just think he's a crazy SOB, and he just doesn't know when to keep his mouth shut. And every time his mouth opens up here in New York, it seems to come out in a spree well, if you know what I mean, where it just doesn't stop spinning. It just keeps on spinning and spinning and spinning. Too bad the earth is not flat. So let's just get to that. But what are your thoughts with this story? Now, the two teams that a lot of people believe are the lead teams to get him. It's Miami. And now the Golden State Warriors are into the picture now. And it seems like it's becoming open. It doesn't make any sense why he would have left the Golden State Warriors and all of a sudden Golden State's going to trade away all these pieces to bring him back after winning a championship. But I don't know. You tell me, man. I don't know what's going on with this. Did we lose him here? Oh, take him off of mute over here.
You're on mute, Seth.
There
you go. There you go. Sorry about that.
Very professional. No, Miami's it's hard to see how that gets done. Just because unless it's some kind of crazy 3-team deal, just because I don't. Okay, what does Miami have to offer? Like, they
Right.
don't want Jimmy Butler and or Kyle Lowry, and frankly, I don't think Miami would put them in. Miami said they won't put Bam Adebayo in. You can't trade Kevin Durant for Tyler Hero and draft picks. You can't. You just can't do that. And even if Miami decided they wanted to put Bam Adebayo in because both he and Ben Simmons signed the designated rookie extension, like Brooklyn can't have both of them on their team, right?
Mhm.
So that makes then if they wanted to make that trade, then they have to find a Ben Simmons trade. And again, we get back to things we talked about with the Jalen Brunson deal.
Mhm.
That trade might make sense, but then what are you doing with the Ben Simmons that we're gonna have to send a pick out for get someone to take Ben Simmons, and now it's like the stuff you're getting for Kevin Durant, you're after sending back out to be able to actually do that trade. What's the point? So just Miami is tough for me to see. Golden State's an interesting one. I don't know. I think the two that seem like that make the most sense just from a standpoint of teams where he makes the team good enough to matter and has the pieces to trade that would make Brooklyn, if not whole, then at least, not in sort of a fire sale mode, are Phoenix and Toronto. And you mentioned earlier, like what's going on with DeAndre Ayton. There's two schools of thought right now. One is that no one wants him. The other is, he is sort of held up in the Kevin Durant situation. So that's got to shake out. And then he either gets traded to Brooklyn or a third team as part of that deal. Or when that gets unlocked, then teams are, all right, well, we didn't end up with getting Kevin Durant, but DeAndre Ayton's out there. So maybe we'll do a sign and trade or something like that. So I think he's almost in limbo because of the Kevin Durant situation.
So all the teams that Kyrie Irving listed last week, obviously a lot of those didn't want him, but is there any chance that you still, besides the Lakers, which are still very popular, is there any chance you think any of these other teams, I know you mentioned Miami's probably out too, any of those other teams would be involved in a Kyrie Irving trade?
I think Dallas makes a lot of sense, by the way. I explained why out of all the teams during my show last week, because he grew up a Jason Kidd fan. Jason Kidd runs that. He's the coach of that team. Luka Doncic, I mean, they have one max contract over there. They could bring him in. They could fit his salary over there. And he can have Luka. The problem last year in the finals, especially against the Golden State Warriors, they didn't have that second option, especially with Luka Doncic getting double and triple teamed. And as good as Jalen Brunson was in the playoffs, he's a small point guard. And they absolutely, what they did is they pushed him out on the perimeter. Even though he's a good shooter, he couldn't get inside where he was more dominant with the pick and roll. And that caused a problem for him to score in that series. But Dallas makes a lot of sense.
Perhaps getting to the salary is a problem there. They've you end up having to take back one, if not both, of Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans. Now Dinwiddie had some nice moments in the playoffs, and he's a useful player. I think Bertans probably has one of the worst contracts in the league relative to performance, not just because of the amount he's paid, but because it goes out. This last year was the first year of a 5-year extension for him, so it's oof. So you're paying him 4 years down the road for a guy who's going to struggle to get on the court. So again, that gets back to the sort of the similar thing as okay, we get those two to make the money work. Now, what makes me want to do that if I'm Brooklyn? So yeah, I think there are reasons why it makes sense for Dallas, but why does Dallas make sense for Brooklyn is the harder one to see.
Interesting.
So I think it's your question.
No,
right?
go ahead.
Oh, well,
go ahead.
So I was going to ask also for Kevin Durant, is there any shot that you think that they could get traded together and still play, or do you think it's a done deal that they're just splitting no matter what?
Man, that's a lot. I mean, again, the matching salary is the hard part there. Like, what team can get to the amount they need to make that trade legal? and still have enough of a team left
Hornets.
to make it work. I mean, if we're ignoring everything we know about, yeah, sure. No, but it can still be good enough and can give enough for it to be worth Brooklyn's while again. So that strikes me as, and frankly, I don't like. Does Kevin Durant want that? I mean, it is kind of funny. Like, you read tea leaves. Kyrie opts into his deal, and then the next day, Katie's like, "See ya." So I don't know. I don't know if those two things are related, but you have to at least consider the possibility.
I mean, they want to play together, which I understand. But why not stay in Brooklyn? If you want
they
to
wanted to play together. I don't know if we can still say they want to play together. I think a lot has gone on. Like James Harden wanted to play with them, and until he didn't. And whatever we want to say about Harden, like I think there are some reasons why he was justified in kind of feeling a little like, what the hell's going on here in Brooklyn last year? Like that was like Brooklyn had one of the craziest, most snake bitten seasons I can remember for a top level team.
It's crazy. It really is. You had James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and KD in the primes of their career and playing great basketball, and they only played 16 games together before James Harden left. They were 13-3, but they all never played on the same team in a playoff series at all in the 2 years that they played together. That's, to me, just tells you where that team was and what that team was all about.
Yeah, no, I mean it's basically their team changed completely. Basically, like was it 20 seconds into the second round against Milwaukee last year, where Harden, like first possession of the game, pulls a hamstring. Later in the series, Kyrie rolls an ankle. But the Harden thing had longer lasting impacts because he's a guy who doesn't do this is it's sort of well known. He doesn't do a lot of like conditioning per se in the offseason. He plays a lot of basketball in the offseason to stay in shape. He couldn't play pickup this summer because he was recovering from the hamstring injury. Like he tried to come back in that series and he got on the floor and he was playing with one leg and it wasn't pretty. But that may have like delayed his recovery. And so he came into the season not in game shape. And so that kind of started things. And then obviously
Tell him to stop hanging out with rappers and Kanye West and hanging out in France and going to Italy and going out to Ibiza and partying up. That's the problem with him. That's the problem with a lot of these NBA players. They're too busy hanging out with the Kardashians and not opening their eyes and staying away from it. Finally, Devin Booker opened up his damn eyes and got rid of that. Because to me, I think even though Devin Booker's at the top of his game, he got the $24 million contract. That's great for him. He needed to get away from them. They're nothing but a jinx, every one of them.
Sure. No, I think that those things only matter when you're not winning. And I tend to think they get overblown as reasons why you're not winning. It's easy to point to like off floor distractions and stuff like that. Like the proportion of NBA players who don't bust their ass to be as good as possible to be ready to play is just very small. Like you can't be in the gym with these guys and say, no, these guys aren't working. Like that's like, and I'm not saying you said that, but that's one of those things that's out there that they're lazy. It makes me so mad.
I'm not saying they're lazy.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying you are.
I would never see James Harden's lazy, but the problem with James Harden is, and last year in the offseason, I saw him with Rick Ross. Out here in New York, I was at an event. I was DJing. James Harden shows up. He's hanging, he's drinking, he's chilling. The problem with him is, and it's been a problem with him in his career. And he's even funny when he went from lapsing from OKC to Houston. A lot of people said that he was partying during playoff games, during the playoff series. I forget what series it was when he was in Houston. A lot of people were complaining about him. They saw him out when they were losing, when he had that bad game where he shot up like 9 bricks at the 3-point line.
Yeah, like against the Spurs.
Yes,
he, shot like
he was out partying the night before. So it's a big problem. And my question to you is, I mentioned up the Kardashians. Besides Lamar Odom, has there been any one of these other players that have dated those Kardashians? Have they ever won? Honestly, have they ever won? And the answer is no. So it has to tell you one thing. They're nothing but a jinx. Get away from them. Keep their Hulu Kardashians away from these NBA players. Unless James Harden wants to call himself the Harden Factor and he wants to make his own TV show on Hulu. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. I think James Harden is a fabulous talent. I think he's a wonderful talent. The problem with James Harden over the years, and I'll say it again, I'll say it over and over again, the guy just parties too much. And he needs to, being that he's trying to build a legacy for himself, and I know that's what he's trying to do, you need to win to build a legacy. Chris Paul's trying to find that, and I feel bad for the guy because everybody keeps saying, oh, Steph Curry is a better point. Let's be honest. Chris Paul is the best point guard of our era. It's our generation, but he'll never be considered that until he wins that title, and that is the problem. And I think Chris Paul is one of the most talented point guards I've ever seen. So, but he'll never be considered that until he wins a championship. Until that happens, they're always going to talk about Steph. They're not going to be talking about Chris.
I think there's good parallels because how many players are thought of lesser now because they happen to be in their primes, against Michael Jordan. And I think that like this, you think about it from 2011 to 2018, it was either LeBron or those Warriors teams you had to go through in the finals. In both, in many cases. And so that's a lot of oxygen that is taken up by, guys can be great players, but just saying, hey, Steph better. That's a meme in the Warriors. Okay, the guy's not as good as Steph Curry. That's not okay. Like that's what are we talking about here? It's like it's not like you can pretty easily be a top 50 player of all time, and like Steph Curry was better than you. So I think that it's easy to now if the point you want to make is did James Harden do everything possible to make up that gap based on some of that off-floor stuff? That's arguable. Like you can if that's the point you want to make, like I'll yeah, sure. But I think that it's easy to forget that Charles Barkley never. Yes, Charles Barkley was his prime was against Michael Jordan and the best 2 years of Hakeem Olajuwon's career. Like it's not like you get a mulligan for that. No, but you have to take it into consideration. I mean, obviously you guys are New Yorkers. Like how different do we think of Patrick Ewing? If those Jordan Bulls aren't there, it's and that's I don't think I don't know. I think we hold it against guys too much, but for misfortune in their era.
You bring that up, and I'll say it again. I think '90s basketball is better than this new age of basketball. I think the basketball now it's ruined. I think the three-pointer and Steph Curry and everybody, all these big men shooting threes, I think it's ruined the game. I really do. You can't put a finger on a player before they go to the free throw line. I remember the game. I love the enemies. I love the Chicago Bulls, the bad news Detroit Pistons and the Showtime Lakers and even the Lakers of the 90s and all that other stuff in the Orlando Magic. Everybody hated each other. Everybody, now all of them want to play together. They want to be son-in-laws, brother-in-laws, godfathers. I mean, the game is ridiculous. I mean, you want these guys to hate each other. You want the game to be fun to watch, like hockey, like football. Some of these teams hate each other, So I just think the game has become more a love fest more than the game of basketball, what we loved in the 90s, where, this team hated this team or this team couldn't wait till they played this team in the playoffs,
I think you get a lot of that as a playoff series goes on. I think maybe this is a hard comparison because we do this thing where we see a game 7 on ESPN Classic from 1994 or something like that, and we compare that to Cleveland playing in Charlotte on a Wednesday in February. And it's not exactly a fair comparison. It's like, yeah, they're playing harder in the one game because of the situation. But I think there probably is something to the players being friendlier just in general because there's more player movement and a lot of players have kind of run into each other since they were 14, 15, 16. So I don't think that means you can't compete to the max against these guys. I don't think you can watch these playoff series and say these guys aren't going all out against each other. You can't watch these playoff series and see that they're not getting testy with each other over the course of the series. Like it starts, big hug, big handshake, game 1. By game 6, they're hip checking and hip tossing each other on the free throw line because there's just been so many little nasty jabs and pokes and stuff like that. So I hear that criticism a lot, and I understand where people are coming from. I think there's a little bit of misremembering of what a Wednesday night game looked like like a Wednesday night in February game looked like in 1994.
Right.
Because those are we've forgotten those because they're forgettable. Because it's and that may be a problem as much with the 82 game season being too many there and everyone having realized it more fully now. Like teams operate that way, players operate that way. The announcers sometimes like, yeah, this game was whatever, which probably isn't good, but that's a whole other discussion because everyone's being judged on how they do in the playoffs. So we get to the playoffs healthy is almost more important than, can we get 57 instead of 55 wins?
Before we let you go, because I know we're keeping you on a long time, and we really appreciate you joining us and giving us the time. I know you're hanging out with your family, getting ready for the NBA. What are they preseason over there?
Summer League in Vegas.
Summer League.
Getting our first look at the guys who were just drafted.
I'm sure you're excited about that. You get to see some of your buddies and you get to see some of the young players playing in the games.
Yeah.
Even though I'm doing a favor for a guy that I can't stand tonight, he wants you to tell the fans what you thought about the Celtics and the Brogdon move. What did you like that move, and what did you like about that move?
So what I liked about that move is Boston got a player when healthy who is a very good offensive player, very versatile offensive player who can fit in a number of roles. They did that giving up basically nothing from their playing rotation. So that's the good part. The downside is he part of the reason why he was available at a relatively low exchange was he's been hurt a ton the last couple of years. He makes the low 20s and plays 50 games, and that's not a great mix. So that's a worry. I was frankly surprised that they had to include a first rounder to get it done. It's been like Brogdon has been available from Indiana since the trade deadline. And it was a nice job by Indiana to, without, I don't think, much leverage in the situation, get a first round pick out of it instead of, I kind of thought that 2 seconds or something like that would get it done. But at the same time, when you're in the situation where the Celtics are and likely will continue to be over the next number of years, the 28th pick in the draft is a little bit whatever. So, it's I think it is a good low cost, medium high upside gamble for a team that frankly was one guy short. I think in the finals they needed one more creator, one more shooter, one more ball handler, and healthy Malcolm Brogdon can do all those things.
Interesting. It's very interesting. Well, we really appreciate you, man, and giving us all that time.
Yeah.
And we definitely would love to get you on again, as always. We really loved your take. And by the way, we definitely got to read your book. Maybe where can the fans find your book?
So it's available wherever books are sold online. The paperback is going to come out right around the start of next season. It's available on audiobook from Spotify and all the places where you get your audiobooks. Sorry, it's been so long since it came out. It came out like 9 months ago, so I'm rusty in terms of pitching it. But it's the normal online places where I would recommend if people want to get it through bookshop.org. Support your local bookseller. So check it out there.
I just want to ask. I was going to one more quick thing before you go.
Please.
I forgot. Anchorage Man, that nickname. How did you get that?
I'm originally from Anchorage, Alaska.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, but so it's sort of something I picked up when I got hired by the Bucks. The local paper did a story. Anchorage Man turns hobby into career, and I heard because my wife actually worked for the newspaper at the time. I heard that the editor of the paper was furious at that headline because like we look like the damn Onion, like because so I kind of just adopted that as my my moniker.
Just so you know, I'm listening to Jeff. I'm buying the book. Hates Brunson move, loved Brogdon move. He didn't say he loved he didn't say he hated the Brunson move, and he didn't say he loved the Brogdon move. All he said is that Brogdon, when healthy, is a good offensive piece. So I don't know what the heck you're talking about. Now you're taking words out of his mouth because that's what Jeff does. That's what he does. Because it's a Celtic and it's a Boston team. This guy's got his fingers so far up his what. He'd be spitting it out of his mouth.
Is this the part where you disinvite me from coming back on it when I say I grew up a Boston sports fan because my dad is from Framingham?
Now he really loves you.
Yeah.
Now he really loves
it's
like Jeff's favorite guest of all time.
Yeah. No, I'm not a fan anymore. You work in sports. Like your fandom gets dead very fast.
It's crazy because doing radio for 9 years now, I would say the same. I'm a New York fan for my teams, but slowly but surely, I'm like, everybody thinks that I talk nothing but bad most of the time. Now, I get excited when I like the moves for some of the teams do, and then when they fall apart, these guys, they hand me over. Oh, you said this. That's what sports radio is all about, boys. You make your assumptions during the show. It's not always right, but when I'm wrong, these guys nitpick it and attack it, and and it's hilarious. But I guess that's what radio is. I don't think they get it, but I got it. You got it. We all got it. But thank you, man. We really appreciate you. Tell the fans how they can find you on social media.
Just at Seth Partnow on Twitter. I'm on a road trip. I've been a little dark, but I'll be tweeting some things I see from Summer League, and I can say that coming out next week is the often eagerly anticipated player tiers on the Athletic, which, as some of your listeners, if they are New Yorkers, might know, got me in some hot water last year for not including one Rowan Barrett Jr. in the top 125 players in the league last year. Will he make it this year? You'll have to check it out.
Interesting. I think RJ had a really good year this year, and I think he's up and coming. We'll see what his transition this year. 20 points this year. He went every year since he's been in the league. He's gotten better. I want to see 24, 25 this year. If I could see that, then we're cooking on something.
So, if I were you, I'd want to see 8 free throws a game. If he's shooting 8 free throws a night, he's made some of the changes to his game that he needed to become the player that the Knicks fans want to see.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. We really appreciate you, Seth.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Enjoyed this.
Absolutely. Seth Partnow, very, very nice guy. Knows his stuff, knows his basketball, and now probably a fan of the show. So when he's traveling, he'll be listening to our crazy show and it being entertained with our crazy guests and crazy fans and us being crazy as always. So Seth Partnow,
Anchorage Man.
Anchorage Man. That's right. I love the Anchorman. Who's seen the Anchorman? You ever seen the Anchorman?
Yes, I have.
I like that. Will Ferrell. I saw Anchorman 2 for the first time. I
didn't like that one as much.
I didn't like it either. I like Will Ferrell. I really, really like Will Ferrell, but and Brittany hates Will Ferrell. Absolutely despises him. But I love his movies. I watched Anchorman 1. I liked it. Anchorman 2 is
I wasn't as crazy about
it. It was very dry.
Yeah.
It was more dry. I didn't think it was very, very funny, but I guess that his humor is definitely something that you have to be interested in watching and to being entertained by his his movies.
Yeah. At least Anchorman, I just love all the concepts that they bring up. I just thought whole movie. And yeah, you're right. I think it too. It definitely did get dry.
2 very good guests. Thank you to Seth for joining us. Brayan as well. Brayan Pena, who's very, very nice, knows his stuff. And hopefully we get them on very, very soon. Both guys. And I'll definitely check out Seth, and I'll keep in touch with Seth because I think a very interesting guy. And and I didn't even know where he worked the front office with the Bucks. Did you?
I had to find out on his Twitter. It said it was former Bucks ops, basketball ops.
You listen to Jeff. Seth Partnow is an all-time guest.
Yes, I figured I just said
because he's a
Jeff's
Boston
favorite guest.
Because he's a Boston guy. That's the only reason why. But it leaves. It just shows you how big of a homer, Jeff is. And I don't care what he says. Oh, I talk bad about my teams all the time. Yeah, okay. You kiss your teams, you know what. That's what you do. It's what you always do, dude. So I don't care what you say. And when the Yankees are, I don't hear him saying anything bad about the Yankees this year because the Yankees are just killing the opposition. That's what they're doing. Yeah. I don't hear him anything. I don't hear nothing. Last year, it was all fun and jokes with the Yankees. Everything was Yankees did. Look at Boston. They're in fifth place. The Yankees are 30 games over 500. I don't hear this guy yapping his big mouth anymore. You know why? Because he's a homer, and that's what he does. He opens his big, his big trap. And when the teams that I root for or something like that, which I don't even root for the way he roots for his teams, he's jumping for joy. Might as well give him a trophy already before they even won it. Look, we're gonna deal with another championship parade. Yeah, great parade, by the way.
Yeah,
they came short.
Yes, Seth on his Twitter, it does say director of basketball research formerly with the Bucks. Yeah, a big analytics guy. That's why I found it funny. He was also laughing when you were saying all the stuff about the jinxes with the Kardashians and stuff too. Like,
but he's
part of it wanted to mock the Kardashians. Part of this is an analytics thing.
He can't do that because he's got to deal with these players. He sees these players and he doesn't want to throw himself under the bus. What I understand. Right. I don't have to deal with the players, so I can say whatever the hell I want. I could care less what the Kardashians think of me or, the players think of me either. But he's around those players every single month, every single year. I don't want to get him into trouble, but I'm sure he's thinking the way I was thinking.
Oh, sure. No, I think he was laughing because he wanted to laugh with you on that. And then his analytic brain is saying, no, don't fall for jinxes.
Well, we're going to finish up with some football and baseball before our show's over. The Yankees, there was stories coming out but this has been talked about since the beginning of the season, that the Yankees are interested in making another trade for an outfielder. Right. Andrew Benintendi is the guy that everybody keeps talking about. Here's the thing. I think Andrew Benintendi, when he was a Red Sox, his first couple of years, he was a pretty good offensive player. This year, he started the season very strong. He's kind of fallen off a little bit this year. He's a great defensive player. He really is. I think he fits very well in the outfield. He really does. The only thing that bothers me about this is, are they trying to add Andrew Benintendi because they feel they're going to lose Aaron Judge in the offseason? That's where I'm looking at, because they don't need any extra outfielders. Their outfield is pretty much stacked. They still have Joey Gallo, unless they're trading Joey Gallo away. He's a Gold Glove winner out in the outfield 2 years in a row. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have Aaron Judge. They have Giancarlo Stanton, who's played in the outfield numerous amount of games this year. And they have Aaron Hicks, who's actually 100% healthy. So why would they bring in Andrew Benintendi? Now, if they bring in Andrew Benintendi, they obviously are thinking about moving Joey Gallo. But if they don't move Joey Gallo, why are they adding another outfielder? It doesn't make any sense.
I think a lot of the reason has to do with two things. One of which, Aaron Hicks's struggles offensively this year have kind of been an issue that the Yankees haven't had to deal with since he's come to the team. Now, he obviously had to deal with the injuries with Aaron Hicks, but also Giancarlo Stanton trying to maintain it the whole year with the injuries too. They don't want having to play the outfield as much. And as a result of those two things, somebody like Benintendi is kind of an ideal guy that they're looking at. Now, he wasn't the only one listed. This article from MLBTradeRumors.com listed a couple others too. Two guys on the Orioles, Mancini and Anthony Santana, that have both had good years hitting as well. Also, Tyler Naquin from the Reds, Romo Mariano, another one from Oakland, is a very good defensive.
It's Andrew Benintendi.
Benintendi is the best one of that bunch, and that's why he's the main incentive right now. And
what are they going to give up for him? That's
again, it's not going to be a lot because he's not a heavy power guy. He only has 3 home runs this year, 31 RBIs. So again, you have a guy that's a 314 hitter, so it's still going to be valuable in some facet. I don't think you have to give up any big prospects though. It's 380 on base percentage is okay. It's serviceable, and it's something
they're bringing him in because of his defense.
They're bringing him in because of his defense. Won a Gold Glove last year. Again, like I was saying at the beginning of the show, I mean, I would imagine him and Aaron Judge would probably switch off a lot in center field because both of them kind of just started that, where they were mainly corner outfielders the rest of their careers, which I think are similar lengths too. They both came up.
It's only going to pay Aaron Judge more money because being that Aaron Judge has proven that he can play center field, it just makes him. First of all, I think it's the second most important defensive position in all of baseball. You talk about shortstop, you want to say catcher, and then you say center field. Center field, you have to cover more grounds. So the fact that Aaron Judge could play center field in multiple positions in the outfield, and he's a power hit, and he hits for average and all that other stuff is only going to make him more money. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, and I also think, too, I think mostly the insurance policy aspect of it, too. Aaron Judge, whether the Yankees sign him or not, is still going to have that injury flag on him, unless he starts staying healthy all of a sudden multiple years in a row, which we haven't seen yet in his career. Now, if he does it this year, maybe there's less of a concern, but also Giancarlo Stanton, also still these other outfielders, the veterans that they have. So I still think it's good to have somebody that's a younger, more controllable guy to help out with that. And he brings a different kind of hitter to the Yankees where Joey Gallo is kind of obviously struggling badly this year, but when he's at his peak, he's still kind of what
you
they
can hit
have.
better than him in the box.
No, I couldn't. But
yeah, you can.
No, I can't. don't push it.
He's batting 160.
Yeah.
I mean, how bad could you be if you're batting 160 in a box and you're a professional baseball player?
But still, like, Benintendi is kind of the opposite of those other types of bigger power hitters that the Yankees have. So I think it's a better piece in terms of something different that brings more variety and versatility to that lineup in terms of a different type of hitter. And again, because he only has 3 home runs right now, you're not going to have to trade much for him, I would imagine. The Royals have a very new front office. I think that kind of thing is going to be a big test for a new GM. So Brian Cashman can fleece him very easily.
It's very interesting when you see where the Yankees are and the position that they're in, being that I think they're 58-23. I think that's what the record is for the Yankees. So they're in position right now where they could wait to the trade deadline, which is, I would say, about 4 or 5 weeks away. They're
at the end of the month, July 31st.
So they're not in a rush to make a move where they're going to add another bat to that lineup. I think they could use another bat in the lineup, especially a guy that can hit for average, where you can move him into different parts of that that lineup where if he's hitting, he's batting 314 and you got to put a guy that can hit for average in between some of the power, in the power of the lineup where you could put him at 2, you could put him at 4 or 5 or wherever they want to put him. They could put him there and he can hit for average. He can knock some runs in. Right now he's playing on a team. I think he plays for Kansas City, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
They're not a good offensive team and their lineup is horrible. So anyways, by the way, Mr. Anchorman says that was really fun.
Yes.
Happy to have him on.
Oh yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah, and he really liked joining us, and I'm sure he'll be listening to us when he's driving. He's traveling the way he is because he's a big sports fan, as you can see, and he's a Boston fan, even though he says he's not a Boston fan anymore.
Well, yeah, no, you have to be objective working in the Bucs front office and now writing a book.
You got to be objective no matter what when you're doing sports.
But especially like you're directly in there too. You can't all of a sudden, all right, I'm a Celtics fan, I'm gonna go sabotage the Bucs front office.
No, but again, when you're a fan, you have to understand when you're working for a team or you're working, like, for instance, we're doing New York. We're on a New York radio station on 103.9. We have to talk New York sports because that's who's listening to us. But just because we're talking about New York sports doesn't mean that we're going to talk all good things about New York sports, because really there's a lot to talk about with New York baseball. It's fun right now. Both New York teams are winning. Great. But as far as the other sports, I mean, the Knicks and the Nets have been nothing but laughing stocks. They really have. Right. The Jets and the Giants were horrible last year. Mm-hmm. They just were. I mean, hopefully they're better this year.
No, they've been horrible the last 5 years. I actually saw a stat on Twitter. The last 5 years, they were literally tied with 59 losses, and both tied for the most in the NFL.
And then the Islanders and Rangers. The Islanders were good for the last 2 years. Well, for the last 5 years, they've fallen off, and the Rangers made it to the playoffs, and they went to the Eastern Conference Championship. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we see good hockey coming up for. So who do we have? We have Jeff again?
Yes, we have Jeff.
Oh, how wonderful. What's up?
Hello, Errol. Hey, Anchorage Man. What an all-time guest. What an all-timer.
Figures.
What a good dude. But Ben in the chat was talking about Oregon maybe wanting to immediately move to the Big Ten.
Wow.
And since I know Speedy is a great branding guy, comes up with plenty of hashtags, plenty of crazy stuff. What would you think if the Big 12 and the Pac-12 merged and changed their conference name, greatest branding opportunity of all time, and we just called it Biggie and Pac?
Yes.
Biggie and Pac.
Errol's a hip-hop guy. I'm sure he'd be involved. Yeah.
Right?
I mean, think about it.
They're dead, but they're coming back to life.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, at this rate, the way conference expansions are, it might not be as geographical.
Who was the one that we had on the show, and we were talking about conferences and how he believed that eventually college sports is going to be put into 2 conferences, and that's it.
Yeah, you're
Who
right.
was
I'm
that?
trying to remember. Yeah, you're right. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember the concept you were thinking of. And since then, I believe whoever that was, I believe
He
him now the
believed
way it was
that the
gonna be.
SEC and the Big 10 or something like that there, or the Big 12 or whatever the Pac-12, he says eventually it's going to be 2 conferences, and then all the teams are going, some of the teams are going to be in that conference, some of the teams are going to be in that conference for D1, and that's it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that in theory, you'd be like, oh, that would work, but it doesn't kind of work. I think the most you can go to is like 4, right? Because if you just have 2 conferences, there's 60-something like really actual schools that play. I'm not talking about like UAB or Troy or any of the people that don't matter.
There's 60 Power 5 schools, or are you including like the good group of 5s?
Right. But the good group of 5s matter. Well, you just saw Cincinnati,
Right.
UCF could have done it a few years back. Those schools will all still count and all still will want to play. Wofford won't matter. Right. But like, the most you can get to is like 4, because otherwise, if you just have 2 and you're going to have 40 schools in each conference, right? You won't play everyone on your schedules will be all screwed up. There'll be too many teams. They're barely getting away with it now in the SEC with the cross scheduling between the East and the West. So any more expansion from that, it becomes ridiculous.
Well, there was already talk that I think the ACC is already getting rid of their divisions anyway, and there is talk as well with the new teams in the Big Ten that they're considering it as well.
Right, but those are going to be the 4, right? You're going to have some amalgamation of Big 12, Pac-12, whatever that looks like, and the American Conference and the ACC will actually have to probably melt into something.
Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of those other fallbacks are because the American is already going to have those teams moving into the Big 12 as well. So they're going to have the fallback. And I would imagine they're not going to be the other same level of powerhouses of like the outside conferences as what Cincinnati has been and UCF, what they were 3-4 years ago to that level. So where they will find that kind of thing in other conference expansions, we'll have to see. But yeah, that is interesting if Oregon is the next domino to fall, because I was mentioning last week, we were talking about this. They're probably the only other like big time football thing in the Pac-12 in terms of the NIL thing.
Well, there's other schools that can kind of compete on some level as well. Like Washington some years has very good schools, very good teams. Utah does.
Here and there. Right. Yeah.
Right. But, you're going to see some of these, what about like the low level Big 10 schools, right?
Yeah.
Like and no disrespect to the New York, New Jersey area. This isn't
Rutgers. Yeah.
Right. I was going to mention Rutgers.
Our team stink.
But if Rutgers wants a legitimate chance to compete, they'll have to move out of the Big 10 and go to the ACC or something.
Well, yeah, that's been their problem since they got there. They were good in whatever small conference they were in, but that was a small conference.
I would love to see New York have a college football team that actually competes, but they don't have anything. Stony Brook, they're terrible. Every single New York, even Long Island, even in the city, none of those football teams are even.
It's geographical, really.
I mean, there's just Rutgers. It's just Rutgers. And Rutgers isn't a good football program. They have a lot of good NFL players that come out of their programs, as everybody's seen.
Because no one cares about football in Jersey, right? Like, very seriously, this isn't a shot at New York or anything like that. But players from there really aren't any good. All the good players are from Texas, California, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, like where they take it high school football and college football more seriously. Like, listen, I grew up in Massachusetts. I'd love to see Boston College be good. But they don't have a local market to pluck a ton of kids from.
Yeah.
And neither does Rutgers. Like, no disrespect to Rutgers football. I know Don Bosco Prep is very good every year, and there's been some good players to come out of there. I know in Nyack, New York, you've had like, Chandler Jones and some of those people. And, you can, Ray Rice was from there. You can find certain players, but overwhelmingly, it's Florida, Texas, Louisiana, Georgia. And they all want to go local and play in front of their families and stuff. And, it's, they don't want to go into the cold either.
Yeah, I think Texas had the most, followed by Louisiana, if I remember correctly, in terms of like percentage of top recruits from not the schools themselves, just where they were growing up playing high school.
And that's not, that's no disrespect to Jersey and New York and all that kind of stuff, but they just don't take you to see it. Like the one cold weather place that kind of takes it serious is like Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Out near Pittsburgh and like that kind of stuff. But all of those kids either go to Ohio State, Michigan, or Pittsburgh.
Right. Ben says Jonathan Taylor is a beast. He came out of New Jersey and went to Wisconsin. USC and UCLA are already trying to go to Big Ten. Yeah, that was the announcement last week. They're going to be there in 2 years, from what it seems like.
Again, for Ben, this is for Ben. You can name a couple of guys. I just did. Ray Rice, Chandler Jones. There's always going to be a couple of guys. But go up and down the roster of every NFL football team. I guarantee you 90% of them are from the South.
Well, yeah, the every demographic in terms of like percentage and overall stats I've seen, Texas is usually number 1 or number 2, and then Louisiana and Georgia, I think, are the next 2, and then it varies each year. Florida, yeah, I think it varies each year.
California.
Yeah, but again, it's never going to be a primary thing for a higher percentage in New York. New York prioritizes with other sports for sure.
Right, just because you can name 10 dudes in the NFL that are from that area, and that's great. I'm not knocking their talent.
Right.
That essentially marks about 3% of the players. So they just don't do it as well as the other places in the country.
Yeah, Ben also says Texas is always number 1, and then Jalen Berger and Corey Clement also out of New Jersey. Yeah, that's what we're saying. There's a couple here and there, but the higher percentages, Texas is always going to have usually the most, because they're 1, a huge state, and 2, football's like a religion for them down there. And then, yeah, like we're saying, Southeast is going to represent the most after that, higher populated.
Dude, no joke. Like, honestly, you knew I grew up there. I loved high school football and college football and all that. When I first moved to Tampa, the Robert Marv was starting for Plant High here in Tampa. And I used to go to some of the high school games. Dude, they play in a stadium, like a legitimate stadium.
Yeah, I believe.
And right after Robert Marv left, the Plant High School team that was there had James Wilder Jr., Orson Charles, and Aaron Murray at quarterback. And it was ridiculous, the offense that was going on there. And that's 3 NFL players in the same class on the same team. And that doesn't even count that it was Robert Marv, who went to Miami, was the quarterback, broke all of Tebow's records. Then Aaron Murray did. And then the kid after Aaron Murray was Philip Ely, who went to play for Alabama.
I remember Philip Ely. That's quite a cycle there for sure. And Aaron Murray set SEC records at his time too.
Right, and that's 1 school here. And they're not even the good school. They're not. Armwood is the school here. They're crazy. Dude, Lakewood had the Pounceys and Ray Lewis.
Wow.
And, yeah, dude, it's ridiculous. So you can name 10 dudes from New York. I can name 10 dudes in 1 class that went.
Yeah. Ben also says they don't have other sports for players, though. Most Big Ten schools are multi-school sports. Yeah, I think all of them are. I don't think there's anything that's just football in the Big Ten. I don't think there's anything like that in any of those power conferences. Yeah, there's like a Big East basketball.
Are you guys reading about this Baker Mayfield story? Is everybody reading about this?
I saw what Ian Rapaport was saying, that the Seahawks weren't super interested.
They were never interested in him. They were never interested in him. And now they're saying, listen to this. They're saying that they're waiting to find out what Deshaun Watson's fate is, and they're going after Jimmy Garoppolo. So what's going on with Baker Mayfield? Where is he going? He might not play this year. I feel bad for the kid. I feel bad for the kid. He hurt his shoulder. He still had a decent season, even with a hurt shoulder. He had nobody to throw to, and he might not even be playing on a football team this year. Nobody's interested in him.
I'm not buying it.
You're not buying what?
I'm not buying it.
That the Seahawks?
My dude tell me the Seahawks were interested. This might be just a ploy to drive down the price.
His price is pretty shot anyway. They're not going to get more than a day 3 pick at this point.
Right, but it's
crazy.
Right, what people are willing to pay is like, because people have called, right? We don't. Of course. Nobody thinks people haven't looked in on Baker Mayfield, right? Mm-hmm. Just the price people are willing to pay is completely opposite of what Cleveland is asking.
All right. So my question is, the Giants is sitting right there. And I like Daniel Jones. Everybody knows that. But maybe Daniel Jones isn't the guy. Why isn't the Giants reaching out to the Cleveland Browns and saying, you know what? We'll take Baker. We'll give you a third or we'll give you a 4th round draft pick for next year. We'll take Baker on. We bring Baker in and let him challenge Daniel Jones.
It's dumb business.
Why is that?
Stupid business. Because if you look at, let's just say, no offense, Speedy, let's just say the Giants are what they have been the last few years, and they stink.
Yes. We just said that stat, that 59 losses in the last 5 years.
Okay, let's, and I'm just going off of that. I'm not trying to hurt anyone.
Nobody. Okay. Okay.
Okay. And they get, where did they pick this year? 4th, 5th?
They were 5th and 7th. Yeah, 5th and 7th. Their natural pick was 5, though.
So let's say they pick in the same position at 5. You're going to get one of the best quarterbacks in a recent draft,
right?
Because there's a ton of them, from Young to Yurkovich to Stroud to Will Levis. There's 10 quarterbacks you could take in this draft, and no one would blink an eye. And you could have somebody under financial control for 5 years versus paying Baker Mayfield $30 million a year, which is basically a cheap quarterback contract now, and you don't know what you're going to get, because if you get him, you're probably going to pass on a quarterback because it wouldn't make sense in the draft. It's just bad business all the way around. So people probably aren't going at Baker because they're looking at next year's draft if they're going to be terrible.
But what? Then you have Miami, who has Tua, and obviously they have a lot invested in Hawaiian Tebow. They have invested in him. Why don't they make a move for Baker Mayfield? I mean, you bring Baker Mayfield. If Tua's not having a good season or he can't stay healthy, which he hasn't been healthy since the day he's come into the league, you got Baker Mayfield, the guy, a guy that you could trust, who could actually win with the team that they have over there. So
didn't they just go and sign a pretty good backup quarterback though?
Who did they?
I think they made a move in the offseason and got it back up.
They brought what's his name again, and from the Indianapolis, the guy from the Indianapolis.
No, that was Cleveland, Brissett. But
Brissett, yeah,
that was Cleveland. I'm trying to find out.
I thought that they signed a backup. I thought that was one of Mike McDaniel's first things that he did.
Yeah, I'm trying to see it on their team website. No, Jeff's right. Teddy Bridgewater is who they brought in.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
If you're gambling on bad quarterbacks, it's the same, right? And he probably got Bridgewater for less.
Cheaper, $16 million a year, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it was
so
like 16.
If you did that, you can't invest another $20 million into a third stringer, or just say Teddy.
I forgot about Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, so they invested in that, and they've already done it.
Yes, they signed Jay Cutler 4 years ago. We know.
I'm just trying to think.
And if Tua stinks, you can guarantee Miami's looking at next year's draft.
Oh yeah.
Yes, they definitely are. They definitely are.
And they're drafting a quarterback because let's face it, he's just Hawaiian Tebow.
Yeah, there could be a lot of teams looking for a quarterback next year. I mean, but again, this offseason, it was the offseason for quarterbacks as much as the year before that was this. Baker Mayfield, I'm very surprised. Now, here's another team, Carolina, that's looking. Why isn't Carolina making a move for this? I mean,
why would any of these teams want to improve, though? Like Carolina, we all know has no shot. Tampa's going to win that division. Carolina probably wants to be bad to solve their quarterback problem.
Maybe, or the coach, because they know their coach is going to get fired if he doesn't have a good season this year.
Right, but the GM doesn't need to help the coach.
No,
he's probably already got 1 foot out the door, and they're probably keeping him going. Hey, you suck, so we'll keep you. So we suck, and we'll get. Who cares? Bryce Young, name a quarterback.
Right. It's possible, but also who says the GM and the coach aren't attached to the hip type thing too? Because they brought in a new GM right there with Rule.
I mean,
well, that's the risk you take. But don't you think Seattle, Carolina, sorry, Speedy, the Giants, they're all doing the same thing?
The Giants schedule, we talked about this. The Giants schedule is a very winnable schedule this year. The Giants could win 7 games this year. I don't see the Giants being a top 5 pick this year. They could be a top 10, but I don't see a top 5. I think Seattle probably. I mean, they have Drew Lock throwing the ball.
Drew Lock and Geno Smith.
I mean, the Cowboys could be bad this year. I mean, they could be bad.
I mean, they play a similar schedule.
It doesn't matter. They lost offensive linemen. They have nobody protecting their quarterback. I talked to the Beef this weekend, and he says, "Hey, listen," he says, Dak Prescott he's in the best shape of his career. I think that's great. He'll be running for dear life because he has no offensive lineman protecting him.
Jordan Davis. End of conversation.
I mean, if you look at the NFC, there's going to be a lot of bad teams. There'll be a lot.
Yeah, the Jordan Davis will be in the Giants' backfield plenty too. The Giants are starting a converted guard to center too, so they don't even have pure center matching up against him.
Yeah, but that's an easy transition, though, Speedy.
Well, yeah, one could hope. We'll see. The Giants haven't had a good center in a long time.
But I mean, there's going to be a lot of bad teams. So you think a lot of these teams are like, man, we suck. So let's try to get to the top of the draft.
Seattle. I mean, Washington made upgrades this year. I think Washington.
Yeah, I can't see them being top 5 bad.
No, I don't think so either. Minnesota.
I like Minnesota. I think
you like Minnesota this year.
I think they're going to be good.
New coach, new scheme.
I like the coach. I think it's perfect for what they need because they have so much talent on offense stuck in an old identity.
I think Minnesota's going to stink this year.
Hey, here's a wild stat for you. Speedy might know because he's a nerd and he pays attention to this stuff. Do you know who has the most expensive offense as a unit in the entire league?
The most expensive offense?
Yeah. Who has the highest paid offense in the entire league?
Is it the Browns?
From the line to the quarterbacks to the receivers, the entire offensive unit.
Vegas? I will guess the Browns.
False.
Vegas?
Nope.
Wow.
Not even close. Think of who you think is the shittiest goddamn team in the
Houston.
league, and that's who it is.
Houston?
The Detroit Lions.
Wow. No, I wouldn't have thought that.
And you know what? I think Detroit's going to have a better season this year. I think they're going to be fun to watch. I really do. I was very impressed with them at the end of the season. The last 4 games they were very, very close and very fun to watch. And I think they have a very good coach. So I think
MCDC.
Yeah, I think they're up and coming. I think Detroit. I like their draft too. They had a very good draft. They really did. They moved up. They got Williams. And they got one of the best defensive players in the draft in Hutchinson. So we'll see how he develops. But
what are the teams that are going to need quarterbacks that are going to suck?
Atlanta.
I mean, it's easy to say
Atlanta,
Seattle,
Carolina,
maybe
Detroit might
Atlanta.
if Jared Goff.
I actually like Mariota.
Yeah.
But.
Jared Goff. I mean Detroit possibly. Minnesota, because that 1 year contract, they have 1 year on
1 year,
yeah, 1 year contract. So Minnesota's going to be looking for a quarterback.
But is Minnesota
the Saints,
going to be bad enough?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
The Saints,
the Saints,
but they have a good team.
They're another one that's not going to be that high.
Seattle,
yeah, definitely.
Those are the suspects, though, right? Carolina, Seattle, maybe
Tennessee.
Will be terrible again.
Tennessee. I mean, they're gonna be looking for a quarterback, and I think they might have a bad season. They lost a lot in the offseason.
They don't ever throw the ball, so it doesn't matter. Derrick Henry will have 17,000 yards this season.
Miami,
and they'll be a playoff.
Miami. I'm just going through the teams. Not Jacksonville. Indianapolis. I mean, because Matt Ryan, he's getting old. I mean, he's an old.
Yeah, that's possible.
It's going to be one of the top teams in the league.
Yeah. Houston, it's a hit or miss. They might if
Houston
they're top
definitely
3.
should consider it.
Right,
if they're top 3.
But those are like the 4. Those are the 4. Right? If I had to guess 4 teams that are going to be
maybe Baltimore with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, if he doesn't sign, it's possible. But
Right,
again, same thing as we were saying.
They're
with the
not going to be
Vikings,
bad.
Yeah.
We know that.
It's probably the Giants, Seattle, Houston, and Carolina. Like those would be the 4 to me that would be like towards the top of the draft. That'll probably be bad and looking for a quarterback.
Yeah, because again with the schedule, the way the Giants are not going to be a bottom 5 team. They're not. They're gonna win at least 6 or 7 games with their schedule. They have to. They're going to win at least 1 game against Dallas. They're going to win 1 game at least against Washington. They're not going to be Philadelphia. But they
win 11 games if they finally throw it to Kadarius Toney. Jesus, give them the ball.
If he can stay healthy.
They should win 3 games out of their division this year, the Giants. Just out of their division.
Did you see their schedule? They should win way more than that.
Let me see their schedule.
They always struggle against the Eagles. They're going to have the NFC North this year. They're going to have the AFC South, which is split probably. We'll see. Maybe Jacksonville gets better with not Urban Meyer, but yeah.
But there's one good team in that division. They get to play Atlanta, Carolina, and who's the other shit?
No, it's not. It's AFC South. It's the Titans, Colts. So those are both kind of good, and then the Jaguars might improve.
Yeah, the Titans. Here's the schedule. Season schedule right here. They got the Titans for the first week. Then they have the Panthers, the Cowboys, the Bears, the Packers, the Ravens, the Jaguars, Seattle, the Texans, the Lions, the Cowboys, the Commanders, the Eagles, the Commanders, the Vikings, the Colts, the Eagles.
Yeah, it's probably about 7.
that's
I would
8
say.
wins.
I would say 7 wins. That's probably.
There's
fair.
nowhere they're top 5. They're top
yeah,
5.
I don't think. I think the top 5. You have to judge the schedule wise. The NFC South is definitely going to have probably one of those teams, either Atlanta or Carolina, whoever's worse, because the NFC South is a brutal schedule.
Now the Jets schedule,
NFC West and
the
North,
Jets
AFC
schedule is
North.
brutal. I mean, they got the Ravens, the Browns, the Bengals, the Steelers, the Dolphins, the Packers, the Broncos, the Patriots, the Bills, the Patriots, the Bears, the Vikings, the Bills, the Lions, the Jaguars, Seattle, and Dolphins. I mean, this schedule is brutal.
The NFC South is
Lions in one other game was like layups, though.
Yeah.
Lions, and there was one game earlier. Was
Lions
it
and Jaguars. Yeah, those are the games, the back-to-back games that everybody says. And Seattle. Those are the 3 games. They could win 3 games in a row, but everything else, I mean, it's a brutal schedule.
So you would have to think that the NFC South is probably going to have at least one, because AFC North and NFC West is a brutal combo this year, because both those divisions are loaded, probably outside of the Seahawks. And then the NFC West, Seattle probably is going to lose a lot in their own division too. And I don't think the NFC South, they're not great, but I don't think they're like as bad as people think. So they'll probably lose a lot there too, Seattle. So you have to imagine they're one of the teams. And then the Texans probably are another one that is going to be in that.
And if you look at the AFC North with the teams with Baltimore, the Bengals, you have all those teams right now over there. 3 of those teams are, I mean, Cleveland with Deshaun. Now, we don't know when Deshaun Watson's coming back. If he does come back this year.
2023.
You don't think he's playing at all this year?
He's getting a whole season easily. Really? Too much has been made of this. The league has already said historic suspension.
So you
I'd
think
be stunned if it's at least not a year? I'd be stunned. They can't. They've already taken enough criticism. Well, let's just go off of this. They say the baseline is 6 games, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. They're not giving them the baseline. They're not.
Yeah, I've been saying it's probably going to be at least 10, maybe more.
At least, but with the amount of things that have been said and that have gone on, and the amount of times that they've screwed up in handing out other suspensions,
oh yeah,
I expect them to probably go harder here.
It's so interesting with this Deshaun Watson thing.
Here's the other thing. Do you think Roger Goodell is super pumped up that everyone spit in his face and gave Deshaun Watson $1 million for the season, the first year?
Right. Yeah, no, they found some weird loophole with that.
It's not a loophole. It's just how contracts are structured.
Well, yeah, no, I was saying about that about the Browns.
Isn't it crazy that Deshaun Watson has made more money in his 7 years of playing than any player in NFL history, and he missed 2 seasons? Do you know that?
Mm-hmm. I saw something like that. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
In the last,
he didn't lose any money last year.
No. But do you know that he's had 2 of the biggest contracts in NFL history, and he's missed 2 seasons in a row, and he's really only played 3 seasons in his whole career. And
I would be stunned if they gave him less than a season. What's the suspension for you?
I think 10 to 12 games. I think that's what he's going to get.
I think it'll be more now.
Because
I was only saying at least 12 games.
Because he wasn't
10
convicted.
Games.
He wasn't convicted. And that's the way they're going to fight, and that's the way the players' union is going to fight this. They're going to say,
but they suspended Zeke and Tom Brady for literally nothing. And that was 4 games for literally nothing.
Well, Zeke got in trouble twice or 3 times. So that second time he got.
And when they did the investigation, they found out he did nothing.
Right. And that's why I think when you look at the whole Deshaun Watson thing, as much as there's speculations, there's nothing proven. And he has not been convicted in any kind of way for anything.
Well, so here's the other thing. We all thought that with Greg Hardy, too.
Yep.
Oh, well, the girl didn't show up in court, even though he got convicted. The girl didn't show up, and he was exonerated, right? Remember all that? And then so they gave him 3 games or whatever they gave him.
Yeah, it was horrible.
And then the pictures came out, and he beat that girl bloody, right?
Yep.
And then the league was like, oh, shit, we look terrible. I don't think that they want that situation again.
Yeah.
I think they're probably going to come down a little harder.
I think they'll come down harder. I think he'll get 10 to 12 games. I can't see them suspending him for a whole season. I can't. And if they do suspend it for 10 to 12 games, I mean, I'm hearing Jimmy Garoppolo's name. Why not keep Baker Mayfield and let him play for the full season and get as much as you can for him? That would make the most sense. Why would you bring in another quarterback that you're going to have to pay at least 19, 20 million next year?
It just depends on if Baker wants to play, though. What are you saying, Jeff?
Supposedly they're not even talking.
Who?
Baker and the Browns.
No, they're not.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he will play anyway, regardless.
It's sad because I feel bad for this kid. I can't stand the Brown fans of what they did to him, because to me, the guy put his heart out there on his sleeve. He went out there. He played as hard as he can, practically with one shoulder. He couldn't throw. It wasn't his throwing arm, but he couldn't hold the ball. And the guy still threw over 3,000 yards, almost 3,000 yards last year, and not being healthy and missing him as many games as he did. And
I don't feel bad for him at all. He's an American hero, and this is where Carl and I will unite. He became an American hero as soon as he planted the OU flag in midfield at Ohio State. American hero immediately.
Speaking of college football, Ben also says Big 12 in talks to add Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington. Wow. That would be.
Well, hold on. The Pac-12 is going to add who?
No, the Big 12 is going to add Arizona, Arizona State, basically half the Pac-12 from what Ben was saying. Utah, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington. I know you just mentioned Oregon, but the Pac-12 will just be done at that point.
If they don't name this conference Big E and
I know.
I will be pissed.
I know.
I mean, I'm looking at it's so funny. I'm looking at Baker Mayfield's numbers. He actually had pretty good numbers last year, even with a hurt shoulder. 3,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, an 83.1 rating. I mean, this is a completion percentage over 60. I mean, that's not bad for a guy that had one arm. How are no teams interested in this guy? I don't understand it.
Because he throws a shit ton of interceptions?
Well, he threw 13 this year, but look, who's he throwing to?
What about the year before?
Who was he throwing to, Jeff? Year before, he had his best season.
Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham.
Jarvis Landry
Odell didn't play much.
Odell was not on the team really that all this year.
Yeah. The tight ends are good. The tight ends are good in the running backs. Jarvis Landry's all right, fine. And then Donovan Peoples-Jones is probably the next
Did he
best
play
receiver.
a lot this year, Jarvis Landry?
Jarvis Landry, he only missed, I think, 3 or 4 games because of injury,
a lot.
if any. But he was pretty steadily what he is. But at this point in his career, he's older and he's not the same player he was.
This is the one time the argument of who is he playing with is completely retarded. Dude, he had 2 of the most dominant running backs, maybe the best pass-catching running back in the league in Kareem Hunt, one of the best running backs in Nick Chubb. He's got Austin Hooper.
Didn't Nick Chubb miss a lot of games this year, too? He did. He got hurt this year.
I think he missed 3 or 4 games as well.
Yeah, he missed a lot
in the middle of the season.
But he's had these guys his entire career. Forget last year. Shit can it. Just say, messed up situation. Go back to the year before. He was still terrible. Go back to the year before that. Not very good.
19 was really bad. That was the peak where you could really question him because
Right,
Odell was but that was before his injury. He was supposed to be really good.
Kareem Hunt only played 8 games last year. I mean, that's not a lot. I mean, Baker Mayfield.
Last year. What about the year before?
I'm just
last year was a scrap.
Okay, Baker Mayfield the year before had his best season. He had his best season. I'm looking at his numbers right now. Baker Mayfield had almost 4,000 yards the year before, 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions.
So not 4,000 yards with that team, with Odell, with Jarvis Landry, with Hooper, with Chubb, with Kareem Hunt.
I don't even think Odell played a lot that year either.
How much help does this dude need? Does he have to play for the Monstars to win a game?
I mean, Jeff, in the 4 years that he's been in the league, he's 3 out of the 4 years, he almost threw over 4,000 yards.
Almost. 4,000 is like
his worst year was 2019.
Yes.
22 and 21.
That's a really bad blemish because they had all those
his
guys.
First year was 27 and 14. His the year before 2020 was his best year. He almost took his team to the AFC Championship.
Yeah.
26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. I mean, that was a good year.
Look, I defended Baker last year.
You did, and I think
right. But when you look at his short career as a whole so far, it's not all that impressive. He's had a ton of help and hasn't done a ton with it. What big game has he won? Forget even stats. Has he won a big game?
Well, he won a playoff game, didn't he?
Yes. Beat the Steelers.
And he almost beat Kansas City.
Uh-huh.
If it wasn't for that trick play.
And Rashard Higgins being like a football nose short of the end zone in the first half.
I mean, they're not exactly lighting the world on fire. They kind of been coming up short,
Yeah,
especially with the team that they've had.
But 19,
Myles
I would say,
Garrett on defense.
19 was the one underwhelming year with that. 18 is first year. They were still rebuilding.
But Jeff, all it shows you is that if you put him on a good team, you put him on a talented team, he could win. You know what I mean? So, and there are teams out there they should be looking at Baker. I don't understand. He's better than I think at least a quarter of the starting quarterbacks on some of these teams. He's better than he's better than Ryan Tannehill.
But he has no value when you're talking about getting a quarterback or potentially getting a quarterback under financial control. Look at what teams have done when they've been able to do that, right? Like, and look at what has happened to teams that can't do that. The Cowboys have had a fire sale after highly overpaying Dak. Ridiculous contract. You know who's thriving? The Bengals, because they're paying Joe Burrow a box of Skyline chili and a few dollars, and they can pay everybody else.
Wow.
Right? Like
they're going to be fun to watch this show.
The team control, I think matters more than having Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I just feel bad for the kid because I think he deserves a chance to play. And the Brown fans didn't do him any justice to doing what they did after the fact. They went after Deshaun Watson. I like Deshaun. I think when Deshaun's on the field, to me, before Deshaun Watson has been out for 2 years, to me, he was the best quarterback in the league.
Top 5 quarterback easily.
But
not best. Aaron Rodgers still exists. Tom Brady.
No, but I thought the year that what he did the year where I thought he was the MVP and he had nobody that he was throwing to, and his numbers were insane. They were insane on that Houston Texan team. But
I mean, let me ask you. Pretend Zach Wilson is not a Jet. Okay, I know that's hard.
Yep.
Pretend he's not a Jet.
Yeah.
And you have Teddy Bridgewater playing quarterback for you.
Yep.
And are you signing Baker Mayfield or someone worse than Teddy? Are you signing Baker Mayfield to play for this team long term, or are you saying screw it? I want whatever quarterback you like.
I'll give you my answer. It depends on where the Jets are at the time that they need to do that. If the Jets are
right now, this team knows Zach Wilson. This team knows Zach Wilson. Are you getting Baker Mayfield, or are you going, oh, you know what? Bryce Young on this team will light it up. I'll wait a year.
Does Baker Mayfield take this team to that next level? That's the question. Could he do that?
He hasn't taken any team to the next level. What makes you think he could take the Jets to the next level?
Well, dude, he was one play away from going to the AFC title game.
Didn't.
He didn't, but that's not his fault. It was a trick play. That wasn't his fault.
Right, but so are you investing in a guy who has been injured with the ribs? It's not just the shoulder, it's the ribs, and I realize it's a non-throwing shoulder. But he's been banged up, hasn't thrown for 4,000 yards, or are you looking at a dude where you're like, oh, we're going to invest, what's a reasonable contract?
But there's no guarantees about Bryce. Bryce.
But there's no guarantees about Baker Mayfield either, because he's one hit away from not playing.
Yeah. I guess you're right. Same thing with Tua. I mean,
right. So are you with this Jets team right now? Because you like Garrett Wilson, you like what the defense is doing. There's a lot of positive things happening there. Are you signing Baker Mayfield to a 4-year contract extension and paying him $200 million?
No, but you don't have to do that. You could sign him year to year, man, and see what he could do if he could prove himself.
He might, but sign a 1-year deal this year. You're not getting by every year on a 1-year deal.
No, because players don't like franchise tags as it is.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not doing it.
I would sign him a year, see if he could do it. If he could take this team to that next level, I'd give him the extension. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you pass on a draft.
Because you said it yourself. There's no guarantees with these quarterbacks no matter what. We've seen
right,
this.
But there's also no guarantee with Baker.
You're absolutely right. But Baker's at least, if you look at his numbers in the 4 years, he's proven that he can play. Okay.
I'll tell you what. This is the approach I would take, and this is why I think yours is a mistake. It's your approach, and that's fine. I'm passing on Baker Mayfield, and I'm going for one of the young kids. But then I sign Marcus Mariota as a backup. I realize he's in Atlanta, but I'm just saying a traditional backup, a guy who's been, hey, Teddy Bridgewater. Send Teddy Bridgewater.
So what you're saying is
Rush.
It seems like everybody, the way everybody is talking, that Baker Mayfield's career is over. That's what it sounds like.
No, because he'll end up as a backup somewhere. Dude, if Mitch Trubisky's still playing, Baker Mayfield will still be playing.
Well, he's better than Mitch, and I like Mitch.
Yeah, that's fine. But Chase Daniel has – do you realize Chase Daniel has now made the most money of any quarterback in the history of the league that has, like, started less than 5 games?
Yep. He got overpaid by, like, so many different teams.
Right, so Baker will still be in the league. You can still get a capable backup in case the rookie doesn't work out. But why would I invest – because just be reasonable here, because he's not going to get 50 like Aaron Rodgers is getting.
Right.
But to sign Baker Mayfield to an extension, you're probably looking at 40.
Yeah.
So am I paying $40 million a year for a questionable player, or am I going to pay $12 a year to whatever quarterback you like, Will Levis, Young, Stroud, any of them, and I'd still have money for a backup quarterback, and I could still add pieces to the team with at least the chance of the $12
I
million
understand your way of
quarterback.
thinking. It all depends on the team and the way where they think the team is as far as the future is concerned. So, the Jets, you might be right. I don't know, because this could be a breakout year for the Jets, and the Jets could win 8-9 games, and you're saying, oh, the Jets are maybe one piece away from being a contender. Now, I don't know what the linebacker, they say the Jets, the weakest part of the Jets, as far as going into the season, looks like their linebacker positions. But
right, but this
who
is
knows?
what I was saying.
But that's not even a
before.
priority position. That's a good thing for the Jets.
Right, but this is what I was saying before. You sign Baker and give him 35-40. You're shedding pieces at that point, like the Dallas had to do when they gave Dak 40, right?
Yeah,
where
Dallas
if you have the $12 million a year quarterback, you're adding pieces. You got plenty. Hey, come on over. Oh, you don't like Dallas? Nobody does. Come on over to the Jets.
Well, Dallas is screwed. I told that to the Beeve. I think Dallas is really screwed. To me, he's not very happy with Dallas. And he did say that Zeke looks good and Dak looks healthy. I said, Zeke is horrible.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to know why Zeke looks good?
Mm-hmm.
Because no one's trying to tackle him right now.
Snook
They're
says,
practicing in underwear. I'm glad he looks good now. Wait till he meets Jordan Davis.
and of course, it comes back to Jordan Davis.
Dude, he's
Jeff. I know he's going to be in the Giants' backfield forever too. Believe me.
Yeah, that dude is a semi-tractor trailer with the handles of a Porsche.
Well, the Giants got themselves a good pass rusher too.
No, they did, but their interior offensive line is still questionable, though. That's what Jordan Davis is going to be going up against.
I mean, I heard Kevon Thibodeau has looked pretty damn good. I mean, at the practices is what I've heard.
Let me ask.
I know they're not playing with pads, but they're playing.
Well, let me ask you, because we're doing this with everyone. Oh, this guy looks good. This guy looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Has anyone gone, oh, that dude looks terrible?
Yes. Right. Before they started really mandatory, OTAs, they were talking about what's his name again on the Jets, not looking good.
Jermaine Johnson.
Jermaine Johnson didn't look good when he got on. Now he's gotten better.
Yeah.
But Garrett Wilson too. He was dropping balls and stuff like that. So you just don't know, man. But that's just here in New York. I don't know. I'm not paying attention to everything what's going on.
I'm sure the New York media is a lot harsher too than some of the national.
Just speaking of Garrett Wilson, and I like Garrett Wilson as a player. That's fine. Did you see how dumb this kid is? Did you see him on the I Am Athlete podcast?
I saw it.
What an idiot. What a dummy. They all laughed at him for how dumb he was.
Snuck says Deshaun Watson may
Football
get
players aren't the smartest. Let me tell you.
Oh, yeah, we know that. Snuck says they may give Deshaun Watson 6 games per woman. Baker Mayfield just got replaced. Why would he want to help the Browns? You'd be surprised what you could get a man to do for a box of Skyline chili. My favorite is the chili cupcakes. Yeah, not surprising. Jesus Christ himself.
Skyline chili, trash. Absolute god. I would rather drink out of the toilet. In fact, that's where I think they make Skyline chili, in the toilet.
Snuck says Chase Daniel, best backup ever. And Zeke looks great. First of 3 in 2022.
I don't know
Skyline chili is Cincinnati's version of prison wine.
It's sad because I know the Cowboys want to trade Zeke, but they're not going to be able to get rid of that contract.
Definitely not.
It's just impossible to get rid of that contract. And maybe Zeke has another 2 good years left. Maybe he does. I don't know. I mean,
he doesn't.
You don't think so, huh?
No, he's been terrible for 3 years now.
Well, last year was pretty good.
He was good last year, but again, nothing is
He
going to
wasn't
justify
good
the
last
level
year. He
of the
got outplayed
contract.
by Tony Pollard.
I wouldn't say that. He played better than
No,
Tony
he played
Pollard.
well last year, but nothing's going to play as well
Dude,
to
he
the level of the
he
contract.
definitely played better than Tony Pollard.
He lost his starting job to Tony Pollard until like week 10. He did.
He played fine, but nothing to the level of that contract. And that's the problem where first of all, running backs are very short shelf life as it is. Second of all, teams are looking more for scrimmage types, guys that can catch passes, guys that can be more agile type running backs, which Zeke has never been either.
The only thing I say that he didn't have a lot of touchdowns. He had 2 touchdowns. That's it.
Yeah. Because Tony Pollard dude, I'm telling you, go look at the first 10 games. Tony Pollard, like Zeke started like the first cut, and he was so bad. They made Tony Pollard the starter until like week 10.
Tony Pollard, but Tony Pollard didn't have a great season.
Tony Pollard didn't have a great second half. He was good in the first half.
He was pretty good.
Because the second half he was hurt and missed games.
Yeah.
He had no
That's
touchdowns
what
either,
ended
really.
it
He had
for him.
2
He got
touchdowns.
hurt,
That's
and
it.
Yeah.
He got hurt, and then they had to put Zeke back in. And then Zeke started playing well.
No. Zeke had 10 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns. I'm sorry, he had 10 touchdowns last year. Tony Pollard didn't play better than Zeke. He didn't.
Tony Pollard, way better than Zeke.
I don't know about that. I mean, you're looking at Zeke's number. Zeke was better than him last year. He was.
And I can't wait to watch Zeke run this year. How's it going to go without Lyle Collins? How's it going to go?
Well, I
guess we're really going to find out if he could run better than Barry Sanders.
I don't even think that we'll even find out that even if he does run well. If Barry Sanders ran against his offensive line was like a piece of paper, okay? And I told that even his father, when he said that, I remember when I brought it up to his father, he looked at him and he almost dropped his wine that was in his hand. He says, "Are you serious?" I think the Beeve, I don't know how much he was watching football at the time that Barry Sanders, I remember Barry Sanders. I mean, that guy was so elusive, you couldn't touch him. I mean, he had the worst offensive line and people still couldn't stop him. It was unbelievable. Probably the best player I've ever seen. Like best speed, elusive guy I've ever seen. I've seen some good running backs. He's the greatest running back I've ever seen.
I guarantee you before the end of the year, Dallas is trying to make a trade for Anchorage Man to play lineman for him.
He'll laugh if he heard you say that.
That's what's going to happen. Dallas stinks.
Yeah, they're going to have problems this year because they didn't upgrade anything. The Eagles upgraded. The Giants upgraded. Washington upgraded. And they've gotten worse. Dallas got worse. So
yeah, they're going from first class to coach. Get in the back.
I would say the 3rd best team in that division.
That's where I have them. I have Eagles 1.
Yeah.
The Commanders 2.
I do too.
Dallas 3. Giants, Giants 4.
Maybe
I know. I have the Giants last 2.
Maybe the Giants have a better record than the Cowboys. Who knows?
If Dallas has a lot of injury issues, it's possible. It's going to be hard if both teams are fully healthy, though, because the Giants are still transitioning a lot of things, though, too. Washington could definitely be it, too, but they have a lot of injury-prone players as well that are very tough to trust on that field, especially.
Jeff, we got to go, man.
Hey, this could be a breakout year for Daniel Jones-Speedy.
I hope so, because I like Daniel Jones.
A healthy Saquon, a healthy dude. The human joystick, Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, we have to trust him to stay healthy too, and Saquon.
If they don't trade him away before that,
it doesn't seem like they're going to do that now.
Your offense got better by subtraction. Think about how many less drop passes you'll have without Evan
Ingram. Yeah, exactly. That is true.
Where did he go?
Jacksonville.
Oh God. Oh
right.
Man.
Think about how much better you just got. Right? Now teach Kenny Galladay to catch a pass.
Oh, yeah.
We're cooking.
Oh, yeah.
We're cooking.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
I guess it can't be any worse than last year, but still.
All right. I love you, Anchorage Man.
How wonderful. He's got love. Boston, a.k.a. Jeff from Tampa.
Yep. As I expected, Jeff's favorite guest.
He is a nice guy.
Yes. No, he was very good.
Seth is really. That was the first time we had him on the show?
Yes.
I've seen one of our guests have the same background as him. That's how I was unsure. But
I think it's a default background for something.
But he's a nice guy. He really is. And I was happy to have him on. I didn't even know he worked for the Bucks. You know, front office.
Basketball research, basketball research operations, yes.
Good for him. So he's been in depth with basketball for a long time. Good for him. We'll be back on Thursday. Who do we have on Thursday?
So Thursday, returning to the show, this guy has been on before. 9:30, we will have Grizzlies radio play-by-play announcer Eric Hasseltine. He was one of your favorites.
Yes.
You talked a lot of old basketball with him. He'll be on at 9:30. Then at 11 p.m. approximately, he's actually traveling into Vegas for the Summer League too. So it'll be approximately 11. He's NBA.com commentator and studio analyst Bo Estes.
How wonderful. So a lot of NBA.
Yes.
Maybe we'll know where KD goes by Thursday. Who knows? I mean, I think this KD thing is going to happen soon. I think within the next week we're going to find out where he goes.
Yeah, it seems that way.
So,
especially again, there's only a select few of trade packages that can be at this point.
It's crazy because you only
the Nets might have to settle at one point.
They're not going to settle on this.
I don't think they should,
because this is going to make or break Sean Marks if he's going to have a job. They need to make sure that they get as much back for KD,
of course, as
they can.
And it's a player-driven league. It might be hard.
I don't think so. It's going to be hard. It's still a guy that's a top 5 player in the league. You're wherever he goes, he's going to make that team that much better. So they're going to get a lot back for him. The question is what? I mean, if Minnesota is going to give up 4 first-round draft picks, they're going to have to give up a lot more than that for KD. KD is so much better than Rudy Gobert.
Of course.
So,
and also judging is that the exception of the market, or the market is another question.
The market is open, and teams are going to they're going to do everything they can to get better, and KD makes you that much better. So I'm sorry, they're going to get a lot. They're going to get a boatload back for KD compared to Kyrie Irving.
Oh yeah.
Thank you to author of the Midrange Theory and the Athletic NBA Analyst, Seth Partnow, for joining us. Also, thank you to the 12-year MLB vet, West Michigan's Whitecaps manager, Brayan Pena, for joining us as well. They were great. Fans, thank you. Keep tuning in to us. We will be back on Thursday, 9 p.m. We are moving our show 7 to 10 starting August. So probably the second week of August, we're moving our shows 7 to 10. So it gives some of the kids an opportunity to watch a show. It's not a late night where kids are sleeping. And I had a bunch of, people that I know that the kids are big fans of ours on the Weekend Crunch, and they can't listen to our show, during the week because it's too late. So we are moving our show 7 to 10. So to give the kids and people an opportunity to tune into us a little bit earlier, as usual. So that'll be good.
Josh says Anchorage Man better than the Beef. Yes, Anchorage Man was very good tonight. Absolutely.
That's it. We'll be back we'll be back Thursday, not next week. We'll be back Thursday, guys. Talk to you then.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there?